My parents couldn't afford to send me to college. I decided to take out a student loan. When my older brother found out, he offered to support me over my 4 years of university. I borrowed a total of $40,000 from him after graduation. He refused to let me repay the debt, but instead demanded I cover all his family's expenses, from my sister-in-law's clothes and handbags to buying a house and a car. And even raising my nephew, it cost me hundreds of thousands, and every time I tried to say no, my sister-in-law would berate me as an ungrateful wretch. Later, exhausted by their endless demands, I worked day and night until I collapsed and died at my desk. Only after death did I learn that my parents couldn't afford to support me because they had used their savings to help my elder brother and sister-in-law. The so-called support was merely to teach me gratitude. After being reborn, I returned to the eve of starting university. The day I brought my student loan application to my dad for his signature. My older brother, Harvey, sought me out on his own. Dad's getting on in years. It's unfilial to ask him to co-sign a loan for you. I'll cover your college expenses. In my past life, when I heard those words, I was utterly moved to tears. I thought he was the best brother in the world, silently vowing to work hard and save money to repay him as soon as possible. Later, I managed to get through college by earning scholarships, doing part-time jobs, and receiving some financial help from my brother. Finally, I completed my university education. After graduation, I calculated the total amount he had lent me, which came to $40,000. I paid him back at twice the commercial loan interest rate. He got angry. We're family. What's with the talk of repaying money? If you know how to be grateful, just help out more at home in the future. So, from the time I started working, my sister-in-law keeps sending me links for clothes, jewelry, cosmetics, baby formula, diapers for my nieces and nephews, and even utility bills, asking me to pay for them out of gratitude for my brother. I never complained and have spent over $100,000 in total. Later, they asked me to borrow $200,000 for a school district houses and another $100,000 for a new car. They've never mentioned paying me back. 10 years after graduation, I'm still living in a subdivided room rented from a subletter and surviving on 10 yuan takeout. Guys who were interested in me took one look at my situation and promptly made themselves scarce. Later on, my nephew needed to attend a private school. When my sister-in-law asked me for money, I simply couldn't afford it and suggested she look into a public school instead. She yelled, "When you were in college, we were struggling too, but did your brother ever say he couldn't afford it?" Now, with just one sentence about not being able to afford it, you want to take away my son's right to receive a quality education. If it weren't for your brother, you'd probably be screwing bolts in some factory right now. Without him, there wouldn't be the person you are today. Every penny you earn is a result of his kindness. My mom also pressured me. Your brother supported you despite the pressure from your sister-in-law. You can't be ungrateful. In desperation, I worked a day job and a part-time job at night, juggling 2 jobs simultaneously. Later, he died suddenly from overwork at his desk. The company's insurance policy paid out over $1 million. Their nephew got into a private school, my brother and his wife bought a new car, and the whole family was living comfortably. When mom and dad talked about it, there was a touch of regret, but mostly relief. It's a good thing we had our eldest pay for Serene's tuition back then. Otherwise, how could the siblings' relationship be so strong? Over the years, he's bought 3 houses. If it weren't for his sister's support, the pressure would have been immense. It's just a pity that our daughter didn't have the fortune to live longer. Only now do I realize that when I went to college, my parents' 700,000 yuan in savings was all taken by my brother and sister-in-law to invest in a store. Besides that, my dad also gives them 6,000 yuan every month. The financial support was a decision made by the whole family after careful discussion. Its purpose was to strengthen the bond between brother and sister. This was so that after graduation, I could wholeheartedly support the family. This is what my loving family is like, too. Serene, your brother took out loans to support your education. Remember this kindness and repay it well in the future. My mother's voice brought me back to the present. After a momentary daze, I quickly regained clarity, snatched the application form and spoke to Harvey. Brother, you're right, Dad's getting old, and we can't let him worry about my loan anymore. So I've decided to apply for a campus-based loan that doesn't require a guarantor. You can rest assured. What they don't know is that there are 2 types of student loans. There are 2 main types: student loans based on your hometown, and those based on your university. The former requires a parent's signature, while the latter does not. In my past life, I was deceived by the facade of false familial affection, lost in the web of my family's lies. I thought he truly had my best interests at heart, so I obediently gave up on the loan. But after that, every time I asked him for money, I had to endure my sister-in-law's disapproving looks, and delays became the norm. Yet, this debt of gratitude is one I'll be paying off for the rest of my life. Harvey's expression changed. How could we possibly do that? Mom and dad are still here, and at the very least, there's me, her brother, having my little sister take out loans for school. What would people think if word got out? I scoffed inwardly. So that's the real reason behind it. It's not just about having a future claim on me. He can also boast too. Others about supporting his sister. He gets to have his cake and eat it too, brother. I know you mean well, and that's exactly why I can't be a burden to you. Don't worry, I'll always remember your kindness. I'll make sure all our family and friends know what a wonderful brother I have. After saying that, he packed up and left. In this life, I want to see who really loses out without this so-called kindness. 3. Half a month after the start of the semester, the loan was successfully processed. The class monitor found out about my situation and asked if I wanted to apply for financial aid. I gave a bitter smile. With a car, a house, and parents earning a decent income, I didn't meet the criteria for a needy student at all. It's a peculiar feature of this place that non-impoverished households can still produce daughters who feel the pinch. Thankfully, with a decade of coding experience from my past life, I at least had a marketable skill. During college, I started taking coding jobs online. Depending on the project size, I earned anywhere from a few hundred to a few thousand yuan. With the scholarship, I managed to live quite comfortably. As expected, my parents soon started hinting around, asking how much I earned and saved from my part-time job. He occasionally sends me photos of my dad at the construction site on scorching hot days. His face is red from the sun, eating steamed buns with dried radish. Your sister-in-law is about to give birth, and the whole family is under a lot of pressure. You should be more frugal in your daily life. Even if you have money, don't spend it recklessly. In my previous life, every time I saw them working so hard, my heart would feel like it was being squeezed. It felt like every penny I spent at school was a sin. But now, my heart is completely still. With a tap of my finger, I sent a photo of plain rice with free soup. College students working part-time. It's just manual labor. How much can they really earn handing out flyers all day under the scorching sun for just $80? And that has to last me a whole week. Can't even afford a simple cabbage dish, so it's just the free soup from the cafeteria for me. Well, what can I say? I'm just a girl trudging along under a mountain of debt. Just as expected, there was silence on the other end of the WeChat chat. A long time passed before a single message finally came through. Take care of your health. Eat when you need to. I smiled without saying a word. There's no shortage of verbal concern and advice, but no one mentions where the money will come from. For a joyful call came from home at the end of the year. Serene, your sister-in-law has given birth to a baby boy. You're going to be an aunt. I could feel my mom's excitement even through the phone line. She wants me to buy a piece of jewelry as a gift for the baby. In my previous life, I gritted my teeth and bought a gold lock with Huawei, eating instant noodles for a whole month because of it. Later, when I went home, I overheard my sister-in-law complaining that it was too small in weight and she really had the nerve to give it as a gift. I laughed. Mom, I'm still a student myself. What do you expect me to give? She's pulling the heartstrings again. You're the child's aunt. You can't just give nothing. It's the thought that counts. It's not like your brother actually expects anything from you. Oh, okay. I customized a 9 yuan silver-plated lock with free shipping from Pinduoduo. One side has a heart, the other has a meaning. Don't ask. The answer is heart and meaning. When my mom came to confront me, I looked completely innocent. Didn't you say it's the thought that counts? So why are you blaming me now that I've shown you my sincerity? She was so angry she was left speechless. 5. In the days that followed, I managed to become self-sufficient, mostly by writing code. By the second year, there was no need for loans anymore, and we had more financial leeway. I signed up for my school's exchange program and went on a study tour to Hong Kong. I also participated in a competition and won an award in Beijing. My entire university experience was incredibly fulfilling. By the time I graduated, I received an offer from a foreign company in Shanghai based on my project experience. That year, my sister-in-law was pregnant with her second child. The family's greetings arrived as expected. After learning that I had secured a job in Shanghai, Harvey began to lecture me. You're a girl going so far away, your parents won't feel at ease. How about choosing a place closer to home? I'm being casual. That's Shanghai, not Mumbai. What's there to worry about? When it comes to safety, our hometown can't compare to big cities. He paused for a moment. The typing indicator on WeChat appeared and then disappeared. After a moment, the reply came. My parents and I both work, and your sister-in-law is pregnant, so it's tough for her to take care of the child alone. Find a job closer to home, come back more often, and the family can take care of you. The dense text transformed into abacus beads, leaping out of the screen and hitting me in the face. In my previous life, my workplace wasn't far from home. I would go home almost every weekend, shopping for groceries, cooking, taking care of the kids, and accompanying my sister-in-law for prenatal checkups. I had to bring a gift every single time if I ever showed up empty-handed. My sister-in-law's face would darken immediately. Each trip ended up costing me a few $100. Eventually, I was just too worn out to go back, and I'm still getting chirped at, just as I thought, an ungrateful wretch who won't even come home. This so-called taking care of me is just a one-way transfusion. I sent a voice message with a cold laugh, dripping with sincerity. Bro, I know you're concerned about me, but I'm an adult now. I can stand on my own 2 feet. How can I keep relying on mom and dad? Don't worry. I'll take good care of myself when I'm out. As for my little nephew, I can always video call him if I want to see him. Before he could reply further, I quickly sent another message. That's all for now. I'm off to work. The main thing is to act clueless and pretend not to understand. 6. Without my help, my sister-in-law's second pregnancy is chaotic. She complains about no one accompanying her to prenatal checkups, severe morning sickness making it hard to eat, and the baby's crying disturbing her rest. The two of them constantly argue. My mother quit her job to take care of them at home for the sake of her son's family harmony, but Harvey's shop hasn't turned a profit yet, leaving only my father's income to support the family. 7. Not long after I started working, my mom started asking about my salary, how much is the rent, and how much do I spend on food. I started using the art of evasion. Well, it's okay, I guess. Hey, it's quite expensive. Oh, it's hard to say. She couldn't get a clear answer and stammered for a while before finally stating her purpose. Want to manage my salary. I'm not trying to take your money, dear. It's just that you young people tend to be a bit careless with your spending and have trouble saving. I'm doing this for your own good, to put it aside for your dowry someday. Your brother also handed his salary over to the family to look after before he got married. She went on and on, putting on a show of genuine concern for me. I didn't refuse. In fact, I perked right up. Sure, Mom, since you're holding on to my pay card, why don't you take care of my Huawei bill too? I owe 9,000, and it's almost overdue. Could you pay it off for me? You can just deduct it from my salary over the next few months. Her voice faltered. How did you manage to rack up that much debt? What choice do I have? Mom, other kids get a leg up from their families right after graduation. I have to do everything on my own. Rent, utilities, none of it comes free. All right. She cut me off. I've told you time and again to be more frugal, but you never listen. You have no talent for making money, but you're a pro at spending it. Figure it out yourself for now. Then, all that was left was the sound of the dial tone. Oh, that's really heartbreaking. I mindlessly tapped the screen. 8. In this life, free from endless demands, the days are so much more relaxed. The job at the foreign company is a standard 9 to 5 with weekends off. The salary and benefits are quite substantial. I rented a small apartment near the office, put on a pretty dress, got my hair styled beautifully, and enjoyed hot pot, barbecue, and skewers with friends. After dinner, I walked along the Huangpu River, watching the moon rise slowly from the water, and the Oriental Pearl Tower shimmering amidst a sea of stars. I spread my arms wide into the wind. For the first time, I felt the profound beauty of the world and that life was truly worth living. I remembered how, in my previous life after starting work, I had to pinch every penny until it screamed. When ordering bubble tea at the office, I never dared to look up. When colleagues invited me to dinner, I longed to go, but my empty pockets forced me to decline. Watching my peers dress stylishly and elegantly, I can only search for cheap knockoffs on Pinduoduo. Even indulging in a trendy dessert occasionally leaves me feeling guilty for a long time. It's my own hard-earned money, yet spending it on myself brings endless guilt. Looking back now, day after day of conditioning has made me subconsciously feel unworthy. How utterly ridiculous. 9. I saw my family again when I went home for the new year, during a big reunion dinner with all the relatives. After not seeing them for my college years, my dad had gone bald, and my mom's hair was now streaked with gray. Both of them have aged considerably. It seems neither of them has had an easy time. Harvey is busy entertaining guests. Arya, the sister-in-law, is sitting on the sofa scrolling through her phone. Her belly is 6 months along, and she's treated like a queen all morning. She's been yelling at my mom, ordering her to throw out the trash, fetch towels, and then scolding her for making the formula too hot or too cold. My mom is constantly busy, holding her grandson while attending to her daughter-in-law. 10. At the banquet, the elders all praised my brother for being capable and having raised a sister who graduated from a prestigious university. They also took the opportunity to advise me. Serene, you are able to go to college thanks to your brother. Now that you've graduated, you should repay your brother and sister-in-law well. Exactly. One should never forget their roots. Those who are ungrateful won't go far. Now that you're an aunt, you should treat your nephew and niece as if they were your own. That's the only way to live up to how much your brother has always cherished you. A chorus of aunts and distant relatives chimed in, urging me on. Just like in my past life, everyone believed it was him who put me through university. Harvey didn't bat an eye. He just smiled and tacitly agreed. I understand everything now, although I don't owe him anything in this life. There are always those who like to boast about themselves. I wonder how they've been bragging in public during the years I was away. I took a sip of tea and spoke calmly without any anger. I took out loans to pay for my own college tuition. I didn't take a single penny from my brother. The relatives' smiles froze at her words, and the atmosphere instantly turned awkward. Seeing this, Harvey quickly chimed And hey, we're family, no need to talk about repayment. Mom and dad aren't in the best health, and little sister needed to go to school. As the eldest brother, it was only right for me to help shoulder the family's burdens, Arya added with a sarcastic tone. That's right, even though her brother and I did our best. College students these days are so high maintenance, with living expenses running 3,000 or 4,000 at the drop of a hat. It's just our family's circumstances that are limited. We can't compare to others, so I guess we didn't manage to make our dear sister happy. Between the lines, they made it sound as if they had truly supported me all along. They also slapped me with labels like being vain, competitive, and immature. What a masterclass in manipulative phrasing. Everyone started trying to talk me around again. Your brother and sister-in-law are just ordinary people. They have their own lives to manage. And it's already very difficult for them to support your education. One should not be ungrateful. I smiled faintly. I pulled up the records of my student loans from my phone and projected them onto the TV screen. It seems the elders have misunderstood. My brother did offer to help, but I didn't feel comfortable asking him for assistance. I managed to get through college on my own. My relatives looked up at the screen, their faces registering surprise. I swiped on my phone and submitted another financial aid application. Come to think of it, I applied for poverty assistance back then, but unfortunately, my family's circumstances didn't meet the criteria. A look of regret and disappointment crossed my face. I've explained it all. Even though my parents earn a decent living, my brother and his wife are investing in a new business and planning for a second child. Money is really tight for them, but my teacher and classmates just don't seem to get it. By this point, those who needed to understand, understood. The relatives exchanged glances. Their looks toward the pair growing increasingly pointed. The smile slowly faded from Harvey's face, while Arya's expression turned grim. My dad quickly stepped in to smooth things over. All right, it's the new year. Is it really worth making such a fuss over a little thing? Hurry up and turn off the screen share. Let's eat. Well, look who's decided to come back to life after playing dead for so long. 11. After the meal. Once the relatives had left, everyone in the family looked grim. My mother pulled me over to sit on the sofa. Serene, how could you embarrass your brother in front of outsiders? I pretended to be clueless. Aren't all the people here family? What can't be said? She got angry. Even if they're relatives, you should know what can and cannot be said. I was still completely bewildered, but I really did pay for college myself. Mom, didn't you always teach me to be honest? How can we lie to our elders? She stamped her foot in frustration. That's enough. Just don't bring up the loan ever again. I gave a nonchalant shrug, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. 12. In the afternoon, I was ready to head out, but Harvey asked me to stay for a few days. He said since I was back for a visit, it was a good chance for the family to spend some quality time together. Arya said sarcastically with a cold face, you can stay, but you can't freeload. Oh. So living in your own home is called freeloading. I looked at Harvey. Brother, didn't you say the whole family was looking forward to my return? But it seems like my sister-in-law isn't welcoming me. Your sister-in-law didn't mean it that way. He pulled me aside and lowered his voice. Living and eating at home costs money, so your sister-in-law can't help but have some thoughts. This afternoon, take Ivan out for a walk, buy some things, and bring a gift for your sister-in-law too. Be more diligent at home these days. Speak less and do more in front of your sister-in-law, and be observant. She won't make things difficult for you. In my previous life, he taught me how to live like this as well. Back then, I obediently followed his advice, working hard and giving gifts to please my sister-in-law. I also often tipped my mischievous nephew shopping, and every time, he would insist on picking the most expensive things for me to buy. If you don't buy it for them, they'll throw a tantrum, crying and refusing to get up off the floor. Then they come back and complain that I was picking on them. You end up spending the money and still getting nothing but grief. 13. I didn't answer directly. Slowly walked towards my room and opened the door. As expected, it had turned into Arya's storage room. I glanced at Harvey, then at my parents. Smile. I'd like to stay. So, where will I be staying? My mom looked awkward and explained, you don't usually come back, so the room has been empty, and your sister-in-law put some things in it. For the next few days, you'll have to make do with the sofa. I'll make the bed, and I promise it'll be more comfortable than your old room. I can't help but laugh, so I have to pay, put in the effort, and humble myself. I'll just earn the privilege of sleeping on the couch for a few days. Sometimes it's truly hard to comprehend what exactly is the role of a daughter in an East Asian family. She's family, yet there's not an inch of space for her in this house. She's a guest, yet she's shown none of the courtesy one deserves. I threw up my hands and sighed. My back and neck ache from working every day. Now, on my few precious days off, I have to sleep on the couch. This is going to be the death of me. Every time I go to my classmates' homes, they prepare a guest room for me, but when I return to my own home, there isn't even a bed. Those who know think I'm coming home, but those who don't might think I'm here to endure some kind of trial. With that, I turned around and left. My little nephew stood by the door, looking at me longingly. I blinked and said, It's not that your aunt doesn't want to play with you, it's just that there's no place for me to stay at home. What can I do? If we're spending money anyway, wouldn't a hotel be a much nicer option? 14. The next day, I went to the countryside to visit my grandmother. I also brought some Lunar New Year gifts for the neighbors who lived after me when I was a child. I grew up as a left-behind child, raised by my grandmother. My parents often forgot to send living expenses, and my grandmother, a rural elderly woman, couldn't make money, making life very difficult. The neighbors, seeing how pitiful my grandmother was, often brought rice, oil, and vegetables, and sometimes gave me crispy sweets and dumplings to eat. A small kindness deserves a great return. I was never ungrateful. When I arrived with gifts, Grandma was so moved that tears rolled down her cheeks. Neighbor Aunt Jo was also beaming with joy, praising me for growing up and becoming more sensible. I happily drank tea and had a meal. Seeing that Auntie also had 2 granddaughters left behind, I bought the little girls some treats and gave them 2 red envelopes. All of this fell into Aria's sight, making her blood boil with rage. You don't even care for your own nephew, but you go and dote on other people's children. I responded with a smile. When elders sow good karma, children can reap good fortune. 15. After the new year, I went back to work. For the following months, I was buried in work and didn't keep in touch with my family much. Until Aria's due date approached, they sent me a link to a stroller. When Ivan was born, you were still in school, so we didn't say anything, but now that the second baby is on the way, you really should step up and do your part as an aunt. I took one look at the price, $13,000. It's practically the same price as the celebrity-endorsed models, rejected without a second thought. Who among ordinary people would use such an expensive stroller? How long have I been working? Where would I get that kind of money? She exploded. Why don't you say you're broke when spending money on outsiders, but suddenly you're broke when it comes to your own nephew? After all your parents have done for you, have you ever given anything back to the family? You won't even help your own brother. What kind of daughter is so selfish? I took a slow, deliberate sip of my coffee. That's right, I have money for everyone except you. It's my money, and I'll spend it however I please. What are you going to do about it? Call the police. She was absolutely furious, crying and shouting in anger. I finished my coffee, enjoyed a delightful tea snack, and was ready to leave work. 16. However, in the middle of the night, Harvey called in a frantic hurry. Serene, how did you talk to your sister-in-law? She's about to give birth. Can't you just give in to her for once? Turns out, after I shut her out, Aria threw a fit, crying and arguing with him half the night. Now she's having stomach pains and has been hospitalized for bed rest to protect the pregnancy. It's just a stroller. Even if you can't afford it, you should at least apologize properly and send a red envelope to make up for it. Did you really have to say such hurtful things to upset her? I'm telling you, if anything happens to your sister-in-law and the kids, you're in big trouble. The voice on the phone was seething with rage, as if it could reach through the line to kill me. Lying at home, trouble comes out of nowhere. A billion points of speechless frustration flowed overhead. Bro, I'm not taking on that kind of responsibility. If a few words from me could cause something to happen to sister-in-law, then every pregnant woman who doesn't want a child would come find me. What would we need doctors for? Besides, with sister-in-law's condition being so serious, shouldn't you be taking care of her instead of having time to argue with me? He was left speechless by the retort. Fuming, he hung up the phone. 17. It turns out Aria is perfectly fine. The doctor said it was just emotional stress that caused Braxton Hicks contractions, and a few days of rest would sort it out, and Harvey even came by to offer a proper apology. He said he got too emotional that day. It wasn't intentional, and asked me not to take it to heart. After all that rambling, he finally got to the point. The due date is in 2 weeks. The public hospitals here in our hometown are really subpar, and your sister-in-law isn't in the best health. We'd like to find a hospital with better service, since you're in Shanghai, and there are plenty of foreign-invested hospitals there. Could you make the arrangements? My mom chimed in. That's right, Serene. After all, this whole situation started because of you. Just help out as a way to make it up to your sister-in-law. The high-end foreign hospitals in Shanghai cater to celebrities and international visitors. Without private insurance, an ordinary person could go bankrupt just by stepping inside. He really has the nerve to think that I didn't say no outright. Instead, I started doing the math. Sure thing, United Family or Jiahui, the consultation fee is a couple thousand, and the standard delivery package runs 70 or 80,000. Wire me the money first, and I'll make the appointment right away. Clearly, this was a revelation for him. His voice grew animated. That expensive? You're not pulling my leg, are you? Private hospitals have their prices listed right there. If you don't believe me, call and ask them yourself. He fell silent. After a pause, he spoke again. All the household money went into stocking up on inventory. Look, why don't you cover it for now? I'll pay you back as soon as I sell the goods. The shop he runs loses money every year. By the time he makes a profit, it might be in his next life." I shrugged. "There's nothing I can do. I just paid the rent, and I don't have a single penny left. If you don't have money, borrow a little from your boss or colleagues first. Having a baby is a huge deal. And you can't afford to be careless. We're all family, so let's help each other out. Do you think I, as your older brother, would take advantage of you?" I'm at a complete loss for words. Borrowing money from a colleague, that's a surefire way to get myself fired. Bro, are you kidding me? Mixing finances with coworkers is a huge workplace taboo, not to mention it's against company policy. And then he launched into lecture mode. "If you don't say it, and others don't say it, who would know? It's because you're not good at building relationships. I've told you before, be diligent at work, clean up well, pour tea for the boss, run errands. Once you've built those relationships, you won't have to worry about not getting any favors." My silence is deafening. It's hard to believe these words are coming from a living person in the 21st century, truly helpless. "Oh, you're so good at handling things, so how much have you earned? Why do you have to ask your sister to cover the expenses when your wife gives birth?" Feeling cornered, he became furious. "What are you gloating about? Don't look down on the poor youth. Short-sighted people won't go far. Don't come begging me when I make it big." Me, all right. 30-year-old, young man, 18, unable to afford a high-end foreign hospital. Arya started making a fuss again, demanding a divorce. In the end, it was my mom who pulled out several tens of thousands in private savings to calm her down, and she finally stopped. Half a month later, she gave birth to a daughter, although not as grand as when her nephew was born. The whole family was still very happy. Having both a son and a daughter is the dream of most families. Arya is sharing her thoughts on having a second child on her social media. Having a brother means more sisters to support him, and having a sister means having a family member. When we're no longer around, they'll have each other in this world. My children will definitely support each other. Unlike some people who are selfish and cut off from their own family, I came across it and found it both absurd and ridiculous, because when I was a kid, my mom said the same thing. But the reality is, after my brother got married, I no longer had a home. 19 in this life, I won't be the one providing blood. The couple's life with 2 kids is clearly not as rosy as they expected. Raising 2 kids is incredibly stressful. Everything costs money: diapers and formula for the niece, daycare for the nephew. Arya insists on premium parenting, always choosing the best and most expensive options. My dad's meager salary wasn't even enough to cover their expenses. Naturally, we couldn't afford to buy a home in a good school district or upgrade the car like we did in my past life. Their daily life was filled with petty squabbles and endless trivial conflicts. Meanwhile, my own career was sailing along smoothly. On my 3rd work anniversary, my direct supervisor left the company. I applied for an internal promotion within my department. Based on my project performance, I was successfully promoted to team lead with a 30% salary increase. 20. The next time I went back to visit my grandmother, I happened to learn that Auntie Zhao's eldest granddaughter was going to drop out of school. I remembered. They were the 2 little girls I had given red envelopes to. The older sister is named Sidong, in her 3rd year of junior high, and the younger sister is named Siwei, just started 5th grade. Their parents were in an accident a few years ago. Their mother passed away, and their father was left paralyzed. The 2 elderly grandparents were raising their 2 granddaughters by doing odd jobs. Last month, the girl's grandfather suffered a stroke and passed away. The aunt couldn't afford to support both children on her own and had to make the difficult choice to give up one of them. I felt a mix of emotions after hearing that. After much deliberation, I found the young girl and decided to sponsor her, having been through the rain myself. I also want to hold an umbrella for others. 21. The news reached my mom's ears. She's back to lecturing me again. Ivan is about to start elementary school, and you haven't even secured a spot for him. Yet here you are, raising someone else's child. I looked innocent. The little girl lost her parents, which is really sad. Did Ivan lose his parents too? She was so angry her face contorted, and she yelled at me for siding with others and having no conscience. 22. 2 months later, it was my dad's birthday. We had a simple family dinner at home and invited me to join. This time, the whole family was unusually in good spirits. Halfway through the meal, Harvey suddenly brought it up. Dad will turn 60 this year, and it's time for us children to show our filial duty. He and I will each contribute half the money to buy a retirement home for our parents. It's too remote here. It's inconvenient to see a doctor for minor ailments. I've thought about it, and we should buy a place near People's Square. The location is great, and it's close to the hospital. As he spoke, he shared his house viewing records, all of which were 4-bedroom model homes. People's Square, if I remember correctly, is also the best school district in the city. I sipped my tea slowly. Why 4 bedrooms if it's for your parents? He said. We plan to live together. The 2 kids can't be separated from their grandparents, and living together allows me to take care of my parents. The so-called care involves the father working to support the family while the mother does the laundry, cooking, and takes Care of the children, I suppressed the sarcasm in my heart. So whose name should we write? His eyes flickered. In a family, does it really matter whose name it is? Since it doesn't matter, then let's write my name. I raised an eyebrow and smiled. How can that be? It's a house for our parents, and if it's in your name, it would become yours. You're really something. Oh, so writing your name isn't scheming. All right, stop arguing. My mom interrupted. We originally planned to write your dad's name, but Ivan needs to go to school and can't be without a degree, so we just decided to write your brothers. Let's not nitpick so much as a family. You've contributed money, and the family will keep a room for you. When you get married and come back for the new year, you'll still have a place to stay. I found it amusing. Haven't heard such an absurd international joke in a long time. Tilting his head, he scrutinized the family. So, you want me to pay half for your son's school district house? Mom, do I look like a fool to you? Harvey was not pleased. What do you mean by for me? We've already said it's for our parents' retirement home. They can choose whose name to put on it. They raised you, provided food, clothing, and education. Shouldn't you be fulfilling your filial duties? Other people's daughters hand over their salaries right after graduation. What have you done for your parents? How much have you given them? One should be grateful. It's our parents who gave us life. Don't even mention buying a house. If they asked for your life, it would be justified. He was spitting everywhere, the strong scent of paternalism overwhelming, making the whole table of food seem instantly dull. I really don't want to argue with it. Yes, I'm unfilial. I have no conscience. I don't know how to be grateful. Who could be more filial than you? With a great son like you around, how could buying a house ever be my responsibility? Forget about a 4-bedroom apartment. Even a seaside villa would be no problem. For you, keep it up. Whether our parents can live in a mansion depends entirely on you. With that, she turned and left, but in the time it took to finish a meal, my bag was gone. It was an LV handbag, containing my ID card, bank cards, and a bunch of important documents. 23. The whole family was just sitting at the dinner table eating. Only one person was playing near the sofa, so I turned my gaze to Ivan. Arya immediately stepped in front of him, glaring at me suspiciously. What do you mean, You accusing my son of stealing your stuff? Harvey chimed in. It's just a bag. You can buy another one later. Don't scare the kid. I didn't say anything. I took out an aldehyde test paper directly. This bag is a domestic version I bought at the leather goods city. It's cheap, so the leather quality isn't great. I accidentally did a test this morning and found out it was soaked in formaldehyde. Prolonged human contact can cause cancer, and it's even more dangerous for children. Now the whole family is panicking. Arya stamped her foot in frustration. Why didn't you say so sooner? Are you trying to hurt my son on purpose? I rolled my eyes and sneered. I watched as she hurriedly scooped up Ivan to wash his hands, then rushed into the room and threw her bag out. Take your things and get out of here. If anything happens to my son, you couldn't pay for it in a lifetime. I caught the bag securely as I was leaving. I turned back and smiled at her. Sister-in-law, I forgot to mention. This one is genuine, the one soaked in formaldehyde. I've already thrown it away. Look at my memory. After saying that, I left without paying attention to her furious curses. 24. I can't be fooled, and our savings aren't enough for the down payment, so my parents decided to buy a small apartment in an older neighborhood first, but Arya said, living in a cramped house feels oppressive and isn't good for a child's development. Harvey also said that buying a rundown, old place would be embarrassing to admit to. Left with no other choice, my dad had to swallow his pride and go around asking to borrow money, but even after begging every single relative and friend, he still couldn't scrape together enough. My mom came to try and talk me around again. Helping your brother is helping your parents. After we're gone, he'll be your only family in this world. When you get married and face trouble with your in-laws, won't you need your brother to stand up for you? If you don't help him now, you'll have no one to back you up in the future. Don't say I didn't warn you. I calmly kept eating my dessert. How can someone who's still mooching off their parents at their age, who hasn't even learned to stand on their own 2 feet, possibly have your back? Marriage isn't mandatory. Even if I got married and was unlucky enough to end up with a scumbag, a few thousand for a lawyer would solve it. No need to spend tens of thousands on someone to back me up. Once again, she was left speechless. 25. When I refused to budge, the whole family was at a loss. Harvey spotted a new business opportunity. The long-dormant A-shares suddenly came back to life. He suggested mortgaging his parents' current home to take a shot at the stock market, confident it would yield profits, and so, the family's last bastion of security was mortgaged away. Within a couple of days, the returns were in the red. He made a point of calling to gloat. See that? That'll teach you to look down on people. I just smiled and Said nothing. The stock market was also surging at this time in my previous life, but it would plummet in a few days, making you question everything. Given Harvey's nature, he definitely wouldn't stop here. The outcome is obvious. My parents lost their last house as well, but that wasn't the worst of it. 26. A few days later, I received another call from my mom, her heartbroken sobs breaking mine. Serene. This is a matter of life and death. You must save your brother. Harvey went crazy and jumped off a building after losing money in stocks. Fortunately, he was caught by a neighbor's balcony below, resulting in multiple fractures and hospitalization. After waking up, he kept demanding to see me. 27. I entered the hospital room to find Harvey lying in bed, swaddled in bandages. When he saw me, he began to struggle. I'm the one who put you through college. You can't be so ungrateful. So he actually remembered. I stood by the bed, watching him fume, and smiled. So you remember your past life now. Did you enjoy spending my compensation money? He said with righteous indignation. You can only blame yourself for having the misfortune to die young. That compensation was for the family. What's wrong with me spending it? If it weren't for me, would you have gotten into university in your last life? Would you have found a decent job? So, has your absence in this life prevented me from going to university? I took a step closer, watching calmly as he ranted and raved. If anything, it's you. Without that so-called debt of gratitude to use as leverage. How come you can't seem to get by anymore? His voice grew agitated. What do you mean by using kindness as a bargaining chip? Am I supposed to be grateful for your support in my education, only to end up with an enemy? As they say, a little kindness breeds gratitude, but too much breeds resentment. A white-eyed wolf is always a white-eyed wolf. Don't try to justify yourself. I've heard the term white-eyed wolf for 2 lifetimes now. In my previous life, you borrowed a total of 40,000 from me, but what you took from me was worth far more than 400,000. You can't calculate it like that. If I gave you a bottle of water in the desert, would returning a bottle to me in the city settle the debt? The immense kindness of supporting your education is something you could never repay in 2 lifetimes. I'm amused once again, but was that bottle of water ever really yours? And who is it that led me into this desert in the first place? Someone brazenly seizes resources that rightfully belong to me, then with an air of magnanimity, doles out a few scraps as if bestowing a favor, all while expecting my gratitude. It's utterly absurd and laughable. If you expect a return, then call it an investment. Don't disguise it as a favor just to pat yourself on the back. Which financial product can yield over 10 times the profit with 40,000 yuan in 4 years? You keep talking about gratitude because you know that with normal investment, your principal can never reach the expectations you desire. You just want to gamble for big returns. My voice was calm, each word striking directly at his sore spot. His face, wrapped in gauze, twitched, and his teeth ground together with a creaking sound. Before he could get a word in, I went on. If funding a college student gives you a lifetime claim, then why are you even talking about jumping off a building? You should hurry over to the university district, invest in a few students, and have them pay you back tenfold after graduation. You'd be rich. I said this slowly, then suddenly remembered something. Oh, I forgot. You're broke now, lost your house, and still owe a pile of medical bills. Having said that cheerfully, she walked out of the hospital room with equal cheer. From behind her came his voice, seething with gritted teeth. You ungrateful wretch. I hope you rot. 28 later, my parents came to me several times, crying, but to no avail. Forced to sell the family shop, we raised money for Harvey's treatment. My mom took care of the kids while working as a cleaner in the community. My dad, already in his old age, worked 2 jobs. Arya is always cursing and complaining about her poor marriage, blaming them for being useless. The whole family is in constant chaos. The old couple toiled away for half their lives and ended up with nothing to show for it. All they have in their old age is a body full of aches and pains. 29. In the following years, my career steadily advanced, and I became a middle manager. The 2 young girls I sponsored both got into university. After Sidon graduated, she started transferring money to me. Grandma told me that one should be grateful. Sister, the money you've given me over the years, I will repay you double. I accepted the principal but refused her offer of double the interest. Our society cultivates independent and well-rounded individuals, not grateful slaves. Assistance is a transmission of goodwill, not a shackle. You don't need to live with a sense of guilt. When Auntie helped me and my grandmother, she never expected anything in return for her kindness. Similarly, when I helped those 2 little girls, I didn't expect any reward. If you start with an ulterior motive, every bit of your effort will be calculated, and you'll want to get back 100-fold. That's not kindness, it's manipulation, the chains I spent a lifetime breaking free from. I will not impose on others. Story 2. In my past life, my cousin obtained a necklace that could swap destinies. She used it to steal my beauty, academic achievements, and loved ones. After taking everything from me, she even hired an assassin to kill me. In my dying moments, I faintly overheard her conversation with the system. System, if she dies, will our lives be permanently swapped? A mechanical voice laced with malice replied, yes, host, consumed by resentment. I was granted divine mercy and sent back to the day my cousin gave me that necklace. This time, I immediately gave it to my aunt who had been left disabled and disfigured from a car accident. Mila, look what I brought for you. As I regained consciousness, I saw my cousin holding a blood-red necklace, her eyes shining with anticipation. I instantly realized I had been reborn. I was reborn on the very day my cousin gave me this necklace that could swap lives. In my past life, everything was going smoothly until I started wearing this necklace. First, I inexplicably gained weight and broke out in rashes that nearly disfigured me. I went from being the school's renowned beauty to everyone's idea of an ugly duckling. I was almost depressed during that time, but Zara kept comforting me, which made me treasure her gift even more. I wore it every single day. Later, I finally mustered the strength to pull myself together and worked hard to lose weight. But then I discovered that my once sharp mind would go completely blank during exams. Papers that used to be straightforward turned into incomprehensible gibberish, and I was on the verge of a mental breakdown. And then, the unthinkable happened. My own parents inexplicably became Zara's parents and disowned me. I finally noticed something strange about Zara. Every time I became uglier or dumber, she would become prettier and smarter. I stormed off to confront her, but she had me killed. I really misjudged her character. I stared at Zara with pure hatred in my eyes, wishing I could tear her to pieces. My glare made her flinch. Mila, what's wrong with you? I quickly snapped back to reality and reined in my murderous intent. It's nothing, Zara. I was just thinking about a nightmare I had last night. Since I still hadn't figured out what dark magic Zara was using, I had to bide my time. I see. Let's not dwell on that now. Mila, this is a blessed necklace I got for you at the temple, with the college entrance exams coming up. This will ensure we both get into good universities. In my previous life, though I didn't believe in such things, I was touched by my cousin's kindness and happily accepted it, carrying it with me everywhere. Little did I know it would bring about my demise. This time, I'm determined to get to the bottom of what's really going on. What exactly is this so-called system, really? Thank you, cousin. You're so good to me. I pretended to be deeply touched as I happily accepted the necklace. We're family. Of course I'm going to look out for you. Just thinking about what the system promised, that Mila only needed to carry this necklace for a week to lock in the exchange target, after which all her good fortune would be transferred to me, sent a thrill of satisfaction through Zara. We're both children from the same family, yet Mila gets to be born in the city with doting parents and everyone's affection. Meanwhile, I've endured my parents' abuse and endless chores since birth, stuck with this name Zara. Don't blame me. Mila, you're simply the most privileged person within my reach. System, are you certain this is true? Now that Mila has accepted the necklace, if she wears it for a week, can I really take what's hers? Yes, host. Once bound to Mila, you may select any 3 attributes from her to exchange. My heart jolted as I glanced at Zara. How can I hear the system's voice too? So this object is malevolent. In our previous life, she must have used this very necklace to steal my beauty, academic success, and loved ones, one after another. That's what I get for letting my guard down around her in our past life. But in this lifetime, don't even think about taking what's rightfully mine. First things first, I need to figure out what kind of dark magic this is. I booked a last-minute ticket to Xindao Temple overnight. It's the most famous Taoist temple in the Jiangsu region, and one of the priests there was close friends with my father before he took his vows, practically an uncle to me. Maybe he's the one I should turn to for help with this. After arriving at Xindao Temple, I explained my purpose to the young attendant. I'm looking for Master Zeke. It took half an hour before I finally saw Zeke approaching slowly. The moment he spotted me, he was absolutely overjoyed. Mila, it's you. Uncle hasn't seen you in ages. Then he scolded the young attendant. Be more alert next time. This is my niece. Notify me immediately when she visits. It's all right, Uncle. I haven't been waiting long. I came to see you about something. With that, I took out the necklace Zara had given me. Zeke's cheerful expression instantly turned grave. He quickly took the necklace from my hand and examined it carefully for a moment. Mila, where did you get this? Who gave it to you? He pulled me closer, checking that I was unharmed before letting out a sigh of relief. I told Zeke exactly what happened when Zara came to see me, but kept my rebirth to myself. I just mentioned that wearing this necklace gave me an uneasy feeling, which is why I came to ask Zeke about it. This necklace has been cursed with dark magic, Zeke explained slowly. This Kind of sorcery can swap two people's destinies, and even blur the memories of those around them until one person completely replaces the other. There should be an identical necklace, that one is the primary talisman, while yours is the secondary one enchanted with the transfer spell. What? I hadn't expected to learn much, since systems and such are usually just fictional constructs in the civilization stories. As I approached Zara, I overheard her speaking with someone who claimed to be the system. They said if I wear this necklace for 7 days, it'll become permanently bound to me. Uncle Zeke pondered for a moment. That makes sense. These life-swapping dark arts do require prolonged contact between a person and an object. We don't know what the system really is, but once this kind of soul transfer ritual succeeds, it's completely irreversible. You'd better get rid of that necklace as soon as possible. Zeke looked at me with concern. Uncle, I suddenly had an idea. Has this necklace already bonded with someone? Not exactly, Zeke said. Anyone who gets hold of this necklace and wears it for 7 days will swap destinies with another person. The only drawback of this dark art is that it's irreversible. If the spell fails, the backlash will only affect the one who cast it. Then it dawned on him, his eyes lighting up with excitement. Mila, are you saying, if I don't wear this necklace, who knows what schemes Zara and her system might come up with to target me? Why don't we turn their own trick against them and use the necklace ourselves? After all, we won't be the ones suffering the backlash, right? Zeke stared at me in shock, clearly thinking this plan was improper. Truth be told, I had considered countless approaches before coming here, like simply discarding the necklace to avoid trouble, but rather than constantly guarding against Zara's future plots, it's better to strike back now and trap her in an inescapable predicament. Mila, have never been the type to swallow my pride and suffer in silence. Any familial bond between Zara and me was utterly destroyed in our past life when she stole everything from me and hired assassins to kill me. No, there's nothing but pure hatred between us, a vendetta drenched in blood. Besides, I'm not worried that Zeke would refuse to help me, because the person I'm giving this necklace to is none other than his first love, me. Before becoming a Taoist priest, Zeke was a wealthy young man named Chinyu. He had a childhood sweetheart and fiancée named Mei. Chinyu and Mei were well matched in social status. The Chin family ran a successful local construction company, while the Shin family came from a long line of scholars and intellectuals. Tragically, just 1 week before their wedding, Mei was in a car accident. Though she survived, her leg suffered unimaginable injuries that left her permanently lame. Her once delicate and beautiful face now bore an ugly scar. Chinyu remained devoted to Mei, but his family insisted he enter an arranged marriage and find another wife, too. Feeling unworthy of Chinyu, Mei avoided seeing him and had been dodging his attempts to meet in recent years. Driven to desperation by his family's pressure, Chinyu ultimately became a Taoist priest out of sheer frustration. Now that there's a chance to restore Mei's leg and appearance, Zeke certainly won't let it slip away. Then we'll do it your way. A flicker of resolve flashed in Zeke's eyes. But can you really bear to part with that girl? She was your closest sister. We stopped being sisters the moment she betrayed me. On my way back from Shindao Temple, I didn't have time to dwell on things. I hurried to the neighboring province to deliver the necklace to Mei. I didn't explain the necklace's true purpose, just said Zeke had it blessed for her protection. I insisted she wear it continuously for a full week. Since Anshin remains unmarried, the moment she heard it was from Zeke, she eagerly accepted it and promised to keep it on at all times. I rushed to find the finest jeweler's workshop in town. Master craftsman, could you make an exact replica of this necklace? The materials are easy enough to find. $200. Come pick it up tomorrow. I breathed a sigh of relief, glad that the necklace Zara gave me was just cheap street vendor junk. I'll pay triple. Can you get it done today? No problem at all. Come back in 2 hours to pick it up. Zara would definitely get suspicious if she noticed I wasn't wearing the necklace. To be safe, I'd better make a fake one to carry with me and put on that incredibly realistic talisman Zeke gave me. This can mimic the aura of dark magic, but it doesn't actually cause any harm to my body. By the time I got home, it was already noon the next day. Mom told me Zara had come looking for me several times and waited for a long while. The moment I got home, she suddenly popped out. Mila, where have you been these past couple of days? Zara looked at me with confusion, although I used to be the school beauty. I'm actually introverted and not one for going out, a true homebody through and through. This time, I suddenly went out for so long and didn't reply to her messages. She must have been really worried, I said with a straight face. Zara, I went to a friend's place for a few days. She wanted to ask which friend, but seeing my displeased expression, she held her tongue. She approached and, feigning composure, glanced at my neck. Seeing the necklace she had given me still properly worn, she breathed a sigh of relief. See, system, I told you were overthinking it. That fool Mila considers me her best friend. Of course she'd take my words to heart and keep this necklace on her at all times. The system carefully sensed the aura of the necklace, and only when it detected that dark, sinister energy did it finally relax. It's definitely the necklace, but better safe than sorry, host. I can't shake this feeling that something's off. Stay alert. I overheard their conversation. So the system isn't all-powerful after all. It didn't even notice the necklace had been swapped out. Perfect. Now I can proceed with the next phase of the plan. I looked at Zara and sneered inwardly, get ready to face my revenge. 7 days later, I let out a shriek as expected. Mila, what's wrong? Hearing my scream, Mom rushed to my room to check on me. I was shocked to see my face covered in pimples. My dear, what happened to you? Are you having an allergic reaction? Mom was so worried that she wanted to take me to the hospital, but I refused. How can I face anyone looking like this? I gently declined her suggestion, explaining it was probably from eating too much spicy food. Mom was half convinced, but still worried about me. She quickly called our neighbor Zara to come check on me and offer some comfort. I gave Zeke a call. How's it going? Is ancient site already linked? After 7 days of research, Zeke finally devised a method to delay this dark ritual, to prevent Zara from doing something desperate. Her fate will first be transferred to May. Only after everything is completely over will May's destiny be transferred back to her. I spent half the morning covering up the pimples on my face, all to keep Zara calm. Mila, what's wrong with you? Zara rushed over after getting my mom's message, and a flash of triumph lit up her eyes when she saw my face. Ha ha ha, system, I did it. Soon Mila's looks will be mine, and the title of Campus Belle will naturally be mine too. But she quickly realized something. Looking at her face in the mirror, she thought, why hasn't my appearance changed at all? The system checked and told her firmly, the necklace medium has been successfully bound. The exchange might have been a bit slow, but there's no need to rush. Only then did Zara feel relieved. She turned to me and said, oh, Mila, I told you to take care of your skin, but you relied on your natural complexion. Now you've got pimples, haven't you? She wasn't as concerned about me as she used to be. 3. Instead, she said with a sarcastic smirk, it's nothing, just put some ointment on it. I've got things to do, so I'm heading out now. With that, she walked away looking quite pleased. I watched her retreating figure. Zara, this is the last chance I'm giving you. If you lose this opportunity, you'll be beyond redemption. When I deliberately pretended to be utterly heartbroken, I was hoping she would see the error of her ways. It seems now that in her heart, my fate must truly belong to her. Fine by me. Now I won't feel guilty about fighting back. The looks department is already confirmed. What's next on the list? Intelligence, or maybe my family background. Mila, I've already spoken to your ancient, Zeke said over the phone. Her face and legs are showing gradual signs of recovery now. Just keep Zara under control for a few more days. It's time to close the net. Zara, did you really think your golden days were about to begin? No. This is the beginning of your descent into the abyss. The next day, I walked into the classroom wearing a face mask. My classmates stared at me with strange looks, whispering and pointing. Look at her, and she's supposed to be the campus belle. How could a normal person break out in pimples all over their face? She must have done something shady. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be? Just then, Zara showed up. I'm so sorry, Mila. I didn't mean to tell everyone about your acne breakout. Please forgive me. Asterisk. Sob asterisk. She started crying as she spoke. I was absolutely furious inside. Zara, why are you apologizing to her? She's not even pretty yet she's hogging the school belle title. Are we not allowed to point out the obvious? Exactly. At least she had the sense to wear a mask to cover up. I bet her school belle title was all thanks to makeup anyway. 2 of Zara's lackeys, equally plain looking, jumped in to mock me, of course. Most of the class were decent people. What's all this racket? My deskmate, Phoebe, slammed a book on the table. You've got too much time on your hands. Mocking my deskmate, looking for a beating. Phoebe, the queen bee of no one high school, sported intimidating red hair, but it was her family connections that really kept people from messing with her. Rumor had it she'd hospitalized a whole gang from her previous school and walked away scot-free. Looking at this fierce-looking deskmate of mine, I felt like crying. In my past life, after Zara stole everything from me and turned everyone against me, Phoebe was the only one who stood by me. She insisted Zara had set me up, told me to stay away from her, and even offered to help me transfer schools. I quietly returned to my seat. Are you okay, deskmate? Phoebe leaned closer, perhaps because I was the first person at school to reach out to her. She seemed genuinely concerned about me. She noticed the tear stains at the corner of my eyes. Are you crying? Damn it, it's all Zara's fault, that bitch. Why did she have to run her mouth? Getting pimples is totally normal. Phoebe was so furious she was about to go confront Zara. I quickly grabbed her arm. Phoebe, I'm fine. I'm just really glad to have a friend like you. Phoebe's cheeks flushed. Don't worry, Mila. My dad's corporate medical team are all specialists. They'll clear up those breakouts in no time. No need to trouble yourself. Phoebe, it's just a common allergic reaction, I said to her with a light laugh. Some classmates stayed silent under Phoebe's intimidating presence but kept whispering among themselves. Phoebe was so furious she wanted to confront them, but I held her back. I didn't want her getting on her father's bad side because of me. Besides, it was all just a setup. 3 days later, Zara realized how laughable the life-changing result she had been longing for truly was. Surprisingly, when the class monitor heard about this, they immediately requested our homeroom teacher to hold a special class meeting for us. The theme was how to deal with appearance anxiety during adolescence. Classmates. Things like growth spurts and skin issues are completely normal during puberty. We shouldn't judge others for having acne or similar problems. What really matters is inner beauty. I noticed many of the classmates who'd mocked me that morning were now bowing their heads, unable to meet my gaze. Several girls who also struggled with acne were crying. They usually avoided making eye contact during conversations, terrified of receiving judgmental stares. Only Zara remained unaffected, muttering to her system under her breath, "What's the point of this stupid meeting? In 3 days, Mila's beauty will be mine. You're all being nice to her now, but soon you'll be crawling back to worship me." The next day, Zara came up to me and deliberately asked how I was feeling. How could I disappoint her? I put on a pained expression and said, "Ugh, I don't know what's wrong with me today. My mind feels all foggy, like I've gotten noticeably dumber." System, just as I thought, she's lost her intelligence too. When will it transfer to me? Zara was ecstatic. Soon, very soon. The system was also pleased. This mission was turning out to be surprisingly easy to complete. "Cousin, you must not have rested well yesterday. Get some proper rest. I won't disturb you any further." She comforted me outwardly, but inwardly she told her system, "Next, I'm going to take away all her family and friends." She gave me a pitying look before turning and walking away. Phoebe walked over, shot her a wary glance, and quickly asked, "Mila, what happened? What is she trying to do now?" In Phoebe's eyes, I've become this pitiful, bullied little thing. Ever since the last incident, she sees Zara as nothing but trouble and keeps an even closer watch on me. "I heard your cousins. I just can't fathom how you could have a cousin who'd harm her own relative like this. Phoebe, I need you to play along with me on this. Since we're starting with relatives and friends, I should give her a glimmer of hope. After all, I want Zara to experience that feeling of falling from grace after basking in everyone's favor. I'm having a birthday party tomorrow. I hope you can make it. First we do this, then we do that, and like this." Phoebe didn't quite get it, but since I asked, she agreed without hesitation. "Phoebe, after tomorrow night, I'll tell you everything. All right, I trust you. In my past life, it was at my birthday banquet that Zara stole my identity and took my parents from me. This time around, she'll likely pull the same stunt. I've already contacted my parents in advance to help me set the stage. Dad learned from Zeke that Zara means to harm me, and Mom is furious. If I hadn't found out, they might have lost me forever." My family, who once felt sympathy for Zara, instantly turned against her, but with the system on her side, who knows what other tricks Zara has up her sleeve. I need to make sure nothing goes wrong. On the third night, just as my birthday banquet begins, it will be Zara's downfall. My parents adore me so much that they threw me a huge party and invited many relatives and close friends. Of all my school friends, I only invited Phoebe and the class president. "Happy birthday, Mila." The class president arrived earliest, looking different from his usual nerdy self in a sharp suit. "Wow," Phoebe exclaimed beside me. "Gavin, I never knew you could clean up this nicely." For Gavin's cheeks flushed slightly. He usually came across as a bookworm solely focused on studies and class duties, but today he carried himself with the polish of a corporate professional. My parents were genuinely happy for me. They don't have high expectations for their daughter, and seeing me with good friends truly warmed their hearts. Phoebe was also delighted. She'd assumed her red hair would scream troublemaker to parents, but my mom's first reaction was to compliment the color and ask where she got it done. The two of them hit it off instantly, chatting away like they were the real mother-daughter pair. Just as the party was in full swing, Zara showed up with my uncle, aunt, and their precious Kairos in tow. Normally, they'd be falling over themselves to flatter us, but today they waltzed in with their noses in the air, like they owned the place. Zara even changed into the evening gown she'd previously swiped from me, but the gaudy gold and silver trimmings only made her ordinary features look more out of place. Her eyes flickered with envy as she glanced at the crowd surrounding me. "It doesn't matter. None of this matters. After tonight, everything will be mine." Zara was thrilled beyond measure, eagerly anticipating crushing me into the dirt just like in her previous life. "Welcome, everyone, to my daughter's 18th birthday celebration. Happy birthday to my precious girl. May you always be our happy little princess." With my parents watching expectantly, I got ready to blow out the candles. 3, 2, 1, wait. Just then, a shrill voice pierced the air as my aunt flashed a hypocritical smile across her moon-shaped face. "Although today is Mila's birthday, there's something I forgot to tell you. Mila is my daughter, and Zara is actually yours. Let's return them to their rightful parents today." Zara's father chimed in. "That's impossible, brother, sister-in-law. You must be drunk. This is Mila's birthday party with so many people watching. Stop talking nonsense." My mother, Still holding on to past affections, wanted to give them a break, but my aunt and uncle wouldn't have any of it. Drunk? I'm not drunk. Mila is so outstanding. She's clearly our daughter. Are you trying to keep our daughter from us? My aunt said, reaching out to grab me. Sis, you need proof for such claims. You can't just take my Mila away with baseless accusations. Get out, both of you, get out. My mother panicked, seeing me about to be dragged away, and tried to shove them out. Just then, Zara spoke up. Mom, Dad, I'm your real daughter. Strangely enough, after she spoke, my parents froze for a moment, then they murmured, yes, yes, you're our daughter, you're our real daughter. My mother released my hand, and in an instant Zara's mother pulled me toward her, making me stumble. They were switched at birth. Don't you remember? Zara's mother said to my mom, you raised my daughter well enough, she'll fetch a handsome bride price when married off. Zara's father and Kairos burst into laughter beside them. Zara was ecstatic. Finally, everything that belonged to Mila was hers. She would no longer have to face that suffocating family or work herself to the bone for them staring at me with a cold smirk, she thought. Mila, if you want to blame anyone, blame your own good fortune. It's all mine now. No, this can't be. Dad, Mom, I'm Mila. Dad, Mom. I rushed over to my parents, grabbing their hands and trying to wake them up. Zara shoved me aside. Sis, stop clinging to them. I'm their daughter now, the only young lady of the Jiang family. As for you, she leaned in close to my ear. You can just rot away in that family of yours. Smack. I slapped her hard across the face. The impact was so forceful that my hand still stung with a burning pain, but it was worth it. Zara let out a sharp cry, clutching her reddened cheek. Sis, I know this is hard for you to accept, but it's the truth. Why take it out on me? Mila, how could you hit someone? Phoebe feigned support as she held Zara's arm. She's my real friend now. You and I are through. She shot me a knowing look that said, well done. The class monitor stared in bewildered shock. Phoebe, you. Before she could finish, I cut her off, staggering unsteadily. I finally steadied myself as if burning all bridges behind me. I demanded loudly, fine, since you claim we were switched at birth, it's simple. Show me the proof that you're the real Jiang family daughter. All right, bring it out. Let's make sure you understand exactly how this ends. Zara's mother haughtily pulled a document from her bag, boldly labeled paternity test report in large characters. This is the DNA test between Mom and me. Take a good look, Zara said, glancing at me with a mix of pity and mockery, as if I were the real fool. After careful examination, it has been determined that there is no biological relationship between Zara and Ran, she announced loudly. After reading it, she looked at my grinning face and said, why aren't you angry? Zara, I think you've lost your mind. It clearly states right here that there is no biological relationship between you and my mother. Do you even understand what no biological relationship means? Zara snapped back to reality and frantically flipped through the paternity test report. Impossible, impossible. When I checked it before, it was 99%. I am clearly Rant's daughter. Zara's parents grew frantic, having seen the paternity test results themselves. They knew Zara was telling the truth. It was you. You're the one who switched my report, she charged at me, grabbing my collar as she demanded answers. So what if I did? Your original report was fake to begin with. Haven't you noticed? Like your face. Why hasn't it stolen my features yet? Zara froze. Just then, the system's alarm blared. Host, you've been deceived. Mila never bound the soul transfer necklace. What? You swore to me earlier that she was bound to it. It hurts. My face. Everyone turned to look as a horrifying scar appeared on Zara's face. The system's voice rang out again, warning, warning, the real necklace has been detected. Host, I'm afraid we've been set up. What? Then who is the necklace bound to? She glared at me fiercely, and seeing the crowd backing away and pointing at her, she understood everything in an instant. She rushed over. Mila, who on earth did you give the necklace to? Don't worry, your necklace will serve its intended purpose. Just then, Master Zeke arrived with May. My parents hurried over to greet them. They had been close friends in their youth. Seeing that May seemed to have overcome her emotional burden and was out and about again, they were genuinely happy. May, your face, it's healed, my mother exclaimed in delighted surprise. By then, May's appearance had been restored, and the dreadful scar on her face had vanished completely. My father pointed at her leg. Your leg is healed too. Just then, a scream came from Zara. My leg. I can't walk. Mila, what did you do to me? With such a major incident at the banquet, the onlooking guests had already been escorted out by my family, as what was about to happen next wasn't suitable for too many people to witness. Harm get. Zara, Mila didn't do anything to you. You've brought this upon yourself, Zeke said. Zara's eyes landed on Zeke and May, instantly zeroing in on the necklace around May's neck. So this is how it is. You gave the necklace to this bitch and ruined my life. I was completely baffled. Since when? Did Zara lose her mind? After May and I parted ways, she suffered injuries to her face and feet, which gradually led to her developing intermittent bipolar disorder, and Zara just happened to take those exact three things from her. Talk about terrible timing. I went right up and slapped them both across the face, shouting, "How dare you harm me in my past life? How dare you hire someone to kill me? I'll beat you to death in this life." Strangely, no one around tried to stop me, even Zara's parents and her family's carers were so terrified by her behavior that they kept their distance, staying far away. "System, switch me back. I don't want to live the rest of my life looking like this," Zara cried out in despair, desperately calling to the system. Ding. "Would you like to sacrifice 10 years of your lifespan to unbind the system? After unbinding, the host can return to their original appearance. 10 years of my life. No big deal. I'm still young. I won't even be 30 in 10 years. I'll sacrifice it." 5. A wave of panic hit me. Could it be that the system has another trick up its sleeve? "See you later, you useless piece of junk. If the mission fails, I get scrapped too. I don't want to be stuck with a loser like you forever." Before I could even figure out a countermeasure, Zara's face suddenly aged dramatically. "No, how did my hair turn white from losing 10 years? Just kidding, silly host. It's actually 50 years of lifespan. Forgot to mention, you don't have much time left. System, you screwed me over. Don't you dare leave." This conversation was only audible to Zara and me. I gave Zeke a meaningful look, and he pressed the button on his device. "Don't worry, none of you are getting out of here today." Zara's initial delight at the system's voice turned to dread. Why can't I leave this room? Why can't I contact the main system anymore? Ever heard of a Faraday cage? I stepped closer. "You relied so heavily on your system. Never imagined you'd be defeated this thoroughly, did you? And you? I don't care which civilization created you. Mark my words, if you commit crimes here in China, not a single one of you will make it out alive. Impossible. This is impossible. How could an inferior civilization like yours possess something capable of restraining me?" The system looked utterly incredulous, its data stream seemingly shattered. Forget escaping this world. It didn't even have enough energy left to find a new host to rebind with. Mila, I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Please. Can you ever forgive me?" Zara knelt beside me, truly terrified now, faced with the prospect of living in this half-human, half-monstrous state. Begging me seemed like her only sliver of hope. Phoebe gazed at me with concern. "Mila, you're not actually feeling sorry for her, are you? After all, everyone in the class had seen how well I treated the sister before." Phoebe was worried I might soften and forgive her. I gave her a reassuring look and said to Zara, "In my past life, you did succeed. But heaven took pity on me. Those who commit such heinous acts will face retribution sooner or later." "What past life?" Zara's eyes widened in disbelief, but she had already run out of chances. "Miss Jung." Two uniformed officers entered through the door. "We're from state security. Zara is involved in activities harming national interests and must come with us for investigation." I looked at Uncle Zeke, and he gave a nod. This was my contingency plan, out of respect for the nation's talented individuals. I managed to secure this Faraday cage. By now, the system has likely been taken over by the National Security Agency. Not a single person at the banquet tried to stop Zara from being taken away. "Mila, you'll die a horrible death. Goodbye, my dear sister. I'm afraid this is the last time we'll see each other." Watching her get dragged away by state security like a dead dog, I felt a weight lift off my chest. Zeke and May exchanged a knowing smile. They're probably the ones who benefited most from this whole situation. As for me, I'm only 18, with loving parents by my side and friends who believe in me. My wonderful life is just beginning. Story 2. Amid a global heat wave, my husband insisted on boosting his ex-girlfriend's sales by dragging the entire family into a 7-day desert tour. Unexpectedly, temperature soared above 80 degrees as soon as we landed, trapping everyone in the guest house without water or electricity for days. Desperate, I ventured out to find water for my son and husband, but was locked out upon my return. Through the window, I saw my husband and his ex enjoying air conditioning and a lavish meal while my son mockingly waved an ice pop at me. "You fool, there's plenty of supplies inside. Every night after you fall asleep, Dad and Chloe feast," my son taunted. "Just die already. You're old and ugly and always bossing me around. I want Aunt Chloe as my new mom." I died of thirst and hunger at the doorstep of the guest house, filled with resentment. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn just days before the onset of the extreme heat. "Is this how you mother? Always on business trips and overtime. Lucas has grown up without you. You should take him on vacation during his summer break. Show him the world," they argued. "Chloe's company is offering this luxurious 7-day desert tour. It's all-inclusive and reasonably priced at $100,000. I suddenly opened my eyes. The blisters from the high heat had vanished, and the burning pain seemed to linger in my throat, but the coolness beside me made me momentarily disoriented. Touching my smooth cheek, I wondered, wasn't I dead? In a strange desert city, I had braved temperatures of 70 to 80 degrees to find water for my family. When I returned, cracked lips and body blistered, I was locked out. Through the glass, my husband sat comfortably with his ex, provocatively smiling at me while my son affectionately called her mom Chloe. They looked like a real family, ignoring my desperate pleas outside, leaving me to die in the scorching heat. As I lay dying, my skin sizzled against the hot ground, my throat filled with blisters, and my heart overflowed with hatred. I had been blind to consider these beasts my family. If I had another chance, I would ensure these traitors suffered eternally. And now, I grabbed the nearby phone. August 5th, 2024. I had been reborn 5 days before the catastrophic heat. My husband still held the brochure, his face blending with the memory of him locking me out. Seeing the brochure nearly touching my face ignited a fire within me. It was this tour that led to my previous demise. Manipulated by this freeloader, feeling guilty about my son, I had signed up without hesitation. As the departure neared, I discovered the private guide was his ex-girlfriend, and all this was just to boost her sales. With growing indignation, I slapped him hard. The sound was crisp and sharp. His face turned to one side, and he fell silent, staring at me in astonishment. After all, I had married him for his looks and tolerated his idleness at home for years, never speaking harshly or laying a hand on him before. The numbness in my palm made my rebirth feel all the more real. I spoke coldly. If you're just a pretty face, then act like it. I've given you too much leeway over the years. You better understand your place. I'm not fit to be a mother. All these years, everything we've eaten, used, and the house we live in were earned by me alone. I hired help for cleaning and cooking, and I've been responsible for Lucas's everyday life and education. What have you ever done for this family? Sitting around, not earning a penny, and still acting all high and mighty. Who do you think you are? Relying on your sugar mommy to support you. My husband's face instantly turned the color of liver, his fingers clenching into a trembling fist, clearly stung by my words. He took several deep breaths to suppress his anger before speaking again, his voice cold and resentful. Ella, you've gone too far. Just because you make some money, you forget who you are. I'm your husband. I stared at his face, scoffed coldly remembering his past deeds, and raised my hand to slap him again. His forehead vein popped, and his arm trembled slightly, clearly holding back his extreme frustration. As I was about to raise my hand again, he quickly grabbed my arm with such force it felt like it could shatter. Ella, my patience has its limits. Don't force me to hit a woman. I gritted my teeth against the pain in my arm, stubbornly meeting his gaze. Despite experiencing betrayal in a past life, seeing only resentment and hatred in the eyes of the man I once loved deeply sent chills through my heart. The standoff was broken by our son's piercing scream as he rushed out and shoved me hard. Caught off guard, I slammed my back harshly against the edge of the table, gasping in pain. Our 6-year-old son, strong as a little bull, stood in front of his father, looking at me with disdain and anger. How dare you hit Dad? He's the man of the house, the real man. If it weren't for Dad, no one would want an old and ugly woman like you even if you threw yourself at them. Dad, you should divorce this evil woman. I want Aunt Chloe to be my mom. The room fell silent instantly. My husband moved to cover our son's mouth, but he broke free. Looking at me deliberately, he said, Chloe is beautiful and kind. You're old and ugly and always nagging me. Why don't you just die? My heart jolted, and a cold sweat broke out on my back. This was something my son had said in a past life too. It seemed he had harbored these thoughts for so long. My son, whom I had doted on and taught with all my heart, had always harbored such hatred for me. I had thought since he was the child I bore after 10 months of pregnancy, if possible, I still wanted to give him a chance to lead him back to the right path. But now, seeing the hatred in his eyes, the last bit of softness in my heart dissolved. This child, like his father, was cold, arrogant, and cruel to the core. I looked coldly at the two of them, a plan forming in my mind. Heaven had given me a chance to start over, and I was determined to make them pay back everything they owed me and then let them descend into hell with nothing. Ella, don't listen to the nonsense of our son. Chloe is just my ex-girlfriend. There's nothing between us anymore. My husband stammered, trying to explain, but I stopped him with a raised hand. I composed myself and spoke calmly. I was too emotional just now. You make some sense. Lucas is growing up and indeed should see more of the world. My husband choked up, his expression a mix of confusion and wariness. Given my usual demeanor, he had expected an intense interrogation, not this sudden ceasefire. Pretending as if nothing had happened, I calmly took the travel brochure, followed the instructions to enter the official website, and quickly scanned the itinerary. This accommodation is too poor for a trip. If we're traveling, we should choose a Higher class place, only with good rest can we enjoy exploring. I patted my son's head and upgraded our accommodations to the most expensive presidential suite at a 5-star hotel, then confirmed the selection. If we're staying in the best available. Father and son exchanged looks, their faces unable to hide their surprise. I couldn't help but smile genuinely. In my past life, this hotel faced severe shortages. It ran out of water and electricity on the very day of the apocalypse. That must have been quite the first surprise for the father and son duo. However, when it came to paying, I hesitated for a long while. My husband urged me from the side, but I just tapped my head in frustration. I've recently invested all my funds into a new project at the company and can't withdraw them right now. Maybe you could cover it for now, dear. I had previously given him a considerable sum of money, worried he wouldn't manage well at home, and on top of that, buying him designer clothes and shoes every now and then, totaling several $100,000. He had more than enough to cover the travel group's expenses, but my husband's enthusiasm died down instantly, and he started to mumble excuses. Actually, Lucas is still very young. He won't remember anything from the trip. Maybe we should just not go. I sneered internally. In my past life, he had no problem using my money to help his ex-girlfriend meet her sales targets without batting an eye, but now when it was his turn, he started making all sorts of excuses. Lucas's excited little face immediately fell, and he began to throw a tantrum. I want to go. I want to go. It was the perfect moment for me to add fuel to the fire. As parents, aren't we earning money just to spend it on our children? Childhood is so fleeting. The words I had just spoken seemed to circle back and sting me, leaving my husband speechless. But even to maintain his image in our child's eyes, he reluctantly agreed to pay the payment. Notification chimed. My husband's face looked worse than if he had swallowed a live fly. Since it was a privately customized tour, I didn't want these nuisances affecting my plans. I immediately called to confirm our departure for that evening. After hanging up, I dragged my husband and child to the supermarket under the guise of shopping for the trip, but in reality, I was preparing for a high-temperature apocalypse. Going against my usual thrifty nature, I bought almost everything I saw, regardless of the cost: change of clothes, towels, toilet paper, soap, shampoo, an inflatable pool, a waterbed, and camping gear in all sizes, enough to last for years, even a small drone. I didn't intend to let them take any of these items, but I had my husband pay for everything. With each swipe of the card, his face grew darker. I didn't really care about the money in his hands. Seeing him in pain was just slightly comforting to me. Moreover, I completely avoided the food and beverage section, telling them to save their appetites for the local delicacies. I didn't buy even a single pack of instant noodles or a bottle of water, but that still wasn't enough. On the way home, I casually brought up another topic. Honey, our villa is too far from the school, and it's only in my name. I'm thinking of getting a school district house and putting all 3 of our names on it this time. What do you think? My husband's eyes flickered, and he nodded almost without hesitation. I chuckled internally, knowing he had been eyeing the house for a long time, sweet-talking me into making it a joint property. I threw out the bait, and he took it immediately, worried that I might change my mind. He contacted a real estate agent on the spot, and we spent the remaining half-day looking at houses. I didn't approve any until we saw a top-floor, large apartment, to which I immediately agreed. This time, before I could even speak, my husband rushed to pay the down payment and asked the agent to help sell our villa. Wife, we'll move right after we get back from the trip. He was rubbing his hands eagerly, but I was just internalizing an estimate of the money he had left. After these 3 major expenses, his little treasury must be nearly depleted. Back home, I personally packed the luggage, keeping anything that might remotely help them during the apocalypse. Looking at the pile of essentially useless baggage, I smiled sincerely. In dire situations, it's best to start afresh. Based on my experience from my past life, they alone would embark on the journey. Sure enough, when we arrived at the airport that evening, an unexpected situation occurred. Don't cry yet. Chloe, what do you mean you booked the tickets wrong? Inside the airport, my husband was tenderly comforting Chloe, who was dressed lightly, her doe-like eyes brimming with tears. Jack, I just started work and am not familiar with the process yet. In my hurry, I accidentally didn't book a ticket for Ella, and now all the tickets for today are sold out. Chloe tugged at my husband's sleeve, looking frightened, her voice soft and weak, yet her gaze at me was full of provocation. What should we do, Jack? The plane is leaving in 10 minutes. My husband instinctively put his arm around her shoulders and patted her reassuringly. It's not a big deal. Ella isn't the type to hold grudges, and we all know it wasn't intentional. Then, turning to me, he spoke with finality. Ella, we'll go ahead with Chloe, and you can buy your own ticket and follow us later. I scoffed coldly. Recalling a previous life where the same scenario unfolded, in that past life, I became upset upon learning that Chloe was the private guide for the trip. Her repeated provocations and deliberate omission of only my ticket enraged me, leading to a public altercation with her at the airport. Chloe and I were separated by airport security, and when asked, my husband unhesitatingly twisted the truth. Claiming I had initiated the confrontation, I was taken away by the police, while the three of them happily boarded the plane on time. By the time I was released from the police station the next day, I was heartbroken but still worried about my husband and son, eventually buying my own ticket to follow them. That decision led to my demise in a foreign land. I mentally scorned my past self's naive love. Speaking again, my voice was calm and even. This is for the best. Lucas wants his Aunt Chloe, and since I don't have a ticket, you three go on the trip. Just then, my phone rang in my pocket. I answered the call as I walked out of the airport, not forgetting to wave goodbye to them. Have a good trip. My son looked dumbfounded, and my husband was completely stunned, instinctively trying to follow me but was stopped by Chloe. Jack, Ella is just upset for the moment. She'll come around. We need to board now. With a reluctant bite of his lip, he took Lucas and turned to board the plane. Meanwhile, I answered the call. It was from a real estate agent. Miss Ella, I've contacted the owner of the house you were interested in. They have settled abroad and are eager to sell their property here. It's for sale, not for rent, and I've sent you the contact details. Great, I replied, excitement stirring within me. In my previous life, I had considered buying that villa but decided against it due to its remote location, opting instead for a more expensive house in the city center. The suburban villa, nestled between mountains and sea, naturally maintained a cooler temperature. It had 3 floors above and below ground, and inexplicably, the original owner had drilled a natural well in the basement. In a high-temperature apocalypse, that would be an endless water source. Dying, I had longed for that villa, so upon my rebirth, I immediately contacted the agent, who quickly managed to get in touch with the owner. Containing my excitement, I remembered something else and spoke to the agent. Also, please help me sell the villa I'm currently living in these next few days. It can be sold below market price but must be a full cash payment. To prevent any unforeseen complications, I calculated the time difference. Although it was midnight back home, it was daytime in the owner's country. I immediately called the owner, and after some negotiation, they agreed to sell the house to me for $16 million. Without hesitation, I used all my savings, and for the shortfall, I took out loans from various platforms overnight, ensuring the money was transferred to the owner before dawn. The day after my rebirth, I received the property deed and the keys to my new villa with the help of a real estate agent. I excitedly toured the new villa, eventually stopping by the well. I bent down to scoop up some water and took a drink. The water was refreshingly cool and sweet. This was a happiness I couldn't achieve in my past life. Feeling emotional, I scooped up more water and splashed it on my face. Now was not the time to be upset. There was much to do. The priorities were a major shopping spree and reinforcing the house. I had secured loans from various platforms and, just in case, I even mortgaged the company I founded to borrow a significant amount of money. The villa was already fully furnished with bulletproof windows and doors. Given the extreme heat of the impending apocalypse, most people would be too drained to leave their homes, so I wasn't worried about security. The main plan was to stay underground, so I didn't bother with the decor of the 3 upper floors. I hired the most expensive local renovation team and paid extra to have the house renovated within 3 days. Solar panels were installed on the rooftop and all sun-exposed rooms on the upper 3 floors. The 3 underground levels were focused on insulation and waterproofing. The first and second floors had thermal insulation layers added to the floors and walls, along with numerous electrical outlets. The 3rd underground level was meticulously waterproofed multiple times, divided into a bathroom, toilet, and had its own drainage system. The renovation team was highly skilled, and within less than 2 days, the team leader proudly told me, "Miss, we've finished the renovations with the best materials available, complete with whole house surveillance. If there are any issues, just call us for repairs." I inspected everything and couldn't help but nod in satisfaction. Indeed, you get what you pay for. Their efficiency was truly high. While waiting for everything to dry, I didn't sit idle but drove straight to the electronics wholesale market. I bought 6 air conditioners, installing 2 on each level of the basement, 20 air cooler fans, and a total of 100 fans of various sizes and powers, 40 refrigerators and freezers, which could be used as makeshift air conditioning in case of a power outage, 5 large ice-making machines, 50 each of outdoor mobile power sources and high-capacity power banks, 5 pedal-powered generators, 2 sets each of solar and electric water heaters, 3 high-power, quiet generators, 10 battery banks, transformers, and stabilizers, various power strips, 10 each of the latest models of smartphones, computers, and tablets, which I had the clerk fill with novels, TV series, anime, and comics. Due to the large quantity of my purchases, the clerk even threw in some small appliances, ovens, air fryers, microwaves, rice cookers, soy milk makers, bread makers, yogurt makers, and sprout growers. I accepted all of them as listed. All of these items would be delivered and installed by professionals. Next were consumable items such as food, household supplies, and medicines. I then visited the food wholesale market. I showed the clerk a guide to stocking up for the apocalypse, which online friends had compiled. It was much more comprehensive than anything I could have thought of. In addition to staple foods like rice, flour, grains, and oils, vegetables, and various types of meat, there were even rice, millet, black rice, corn, red beans, soybeans, oatmeal milk, various kinds of tea for brewing, lemon slices, black sesame paste, soy milk powder, and various canned fruits, frozen dumplings, buns, wontons, spring rolls, siumai, and glutinous rice balls, dried meat, dried fruit, potato chips, candies, jelly, cookies, bread, sausages, cheese, and beverages, bagged pickled radishes, pickled cucumbers, and other small pickled vegetables, self-heating hot pots, rice, pizzas, and soups, bagged instant noodles, hot and sour noodles, and potato noodles, semi-finished products like egg tarts, Orleans grilled wings, chicken legs, chicken steaks, beef steaks, lamb chops, and chicken rolls, butter, chocolate, and other essentials, even included some chewing gum. I also prudently purchased 1,000 bottles of purified water in case the groundwater level drops later on. Then, I headed to the pharmacy. I bought 5 boxes each of fever reducers, cold medicines, painkillers, anti-inflammatory drugs, stomach medicines, and medications for various sudden illnesses, 10 boxes each of various vitamins and calcium supplements, 20 rolls of bandages, 250 bottles of medicinal alcohol, iodine tincture, and disinfectants, 200 boxes of waterproof band-aids and masks. Most importantly, I bought 100 boxes each of fever patches and heat stroke prevention medicine to have as backups. I also acquired some traditional Chinese herbs like chrysanthemum, honeysuckle, mint, dandelion, and Isatis root to clear heat and detoxify. Finally, I purchased an additional set of audible surveillance equipment and 3 safes to be cautious. I hired a moving company from the neighboring city to transport these consumable items. After everything was arranged, I received a call from a broker telling me that someone was willing to buy my current villa for $20 million, which was lower than expected, but after some thought, I promptly agreed. We met, completed the payment, and transferred ownership in one go. Seeing the balance in my bank account brought me peace of mind. With this money, even if the apocalypse ends, I can pay off my debts and return to my former life. The items in the new villa were gradually put in place, and only 3 days had passed. I seized the opportunity to return to the original villa, sold all the furniture and decorations at low prices, returned the unworn clothes and shoes I had bought for my worthless husband and spoiled son, and donated everything else that had been used. In the end, the empty house was left with nothing but the full house surveillance and a kitchen knife intentionally hidden behind the kitchen door. I didn't leave even a grain of rice or a needle and thread. After double-checking everything, I locked the door with satisfaction. With 2 days left until the apocalypse, the temperature was already rising, and I wiped the sweat from my brow and took several big gulps from my water bottle. My phone rang in my pocket. It was my husband. Ella, it's been 3 days. Why haven't you come over? This damned weather is getting hotter, and the 5-star hotel we're staying at just lost water and electricity. No telling when it'll be back. Lucas is crying from the heat. My husband went on, hoping to hear my explanations and concern. In my previous life, if I had heard that he and our beloved son were suffering so much, I would have been heartbroken and helpless, perhaps even flying over to suffer along with them, or doing everything possible to help them out of their predicament. But the Ella who always thought of them first in her previous life is gone, so I responded indifferently. It's a desert city, heat is normal, it might cool down by evening, tough it out, you're both grown men. If you have problems during your trip, talk to your tour guide. I'm not a travel agency, why bother me? My husband, who had never been talked back to like this, changed his tone in frustration. Is this never going to end, Ella? I already said what happened at the airport was an accident. You're still acting petty and sulky, thinking you're a little princess. If you know what's good for you, buy some food that Lucas and I like and come over quickly. I might still forgive and forget, perhaps thinking that he had already secured the house. He didn't bother pretending anymore and even blatantly showed his true colors. You nag all the time. You're nothing compared to Chloe's gentle nature. Anyway, I paid the down payment for the new house, so it will only be in my name. Unless you kneel and apologize, we are getting a Divorce. When we returned, I was busy organizing and placing items in the new villa, his endless nagging going in one ear and out the other. I casually replied, "Fine, I agree to the divorce." There was a second of silence from him, then he exploded in anger. "Ella, say that again." I immediately hung up. He persistently called back, but I decided to block and delete all contact information of him and my son. By then, the sun had already set. Despite the villa being quite hot, I glanced at the thermometer hanging on the wall, 45 degrees, only one more day to go. The onset of the extreme heat was already taking shape. After being busy nonstop for so many days, I was surprisingly not sleepy at all, and took a tour around my domain, checking each floor. The third floor upstairs was covered with glaring solar panels. The air conditioning on the 3 floors below was already in operation. The first basement level was neatly stocked with shelves of instant noodles, cereal, bottled water, heating hot pots, chips, and other room temperature foods, along with essentials like toilet paper, towels, and spare clothes. The second basement level housed various fridges and freezers, with fresh vegetables and fruits in the chillers, and different kinds of meats and a variety of ice creams and popsicles in the freezers, mainly powered by the solar panels, just in case. Several large portable power sources for camping were also stored around. Butter, chocolate, and various sauces, which fear high temperatures, were also kept on this level. Then there was the most crucial, the third basement level, which would become my most frequented spot. The bathrooms and showers with independent drainage were all set up. I had also purchased a water pump in advance and placed it in the well to ensure water availability in case of a cutoff. Finally, while water and electricity were still running normally, I inflated the swimming pool and water bed my husband had bought before, filling them with air and water. I also prudently topped up the villa's utility cards with thousands of dollars. After a final contented inspection, I felt everything was in order. I stepped out for a delightful hot pot meal, then bought several boxes of different flavored ice cream pops and a few large watermelons, squeezing them into the freezer wherever there was space. After everything was arranged, I locked the doors and windows and went down to sleep on the water bed in the third basement level, sleeping deeply. I was woken up by the ring of a phone call from an unknown number. I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was already 7 p.m. the next day, and the temperature upstairs had soared to 55 degrees. Only 5 hours left until the extreme heat apocalypse. After quickly washing my face, I answered the call. The voice on the other end immediately snapped me to attention. "Ella, did you sell our villa? Where are you?" They had actually returned before the apocalypse. I instinctively hung up the phone and hurriedly turned on the original villa's surveillance. My husband, son, and Chloe were standing in the living room, sweating profusely and discussing something. I turned on the surveillance audio. "Jack, how could sister just sell the house without saying a word when she's upset? There's not even an air conditioner here, and Lucas is about to get heat stroke. She's being too irresponsible as a mother." My son was indeed suffering from the heat, slumping against the wall. No longer his usual arrogant self, my husband wiped his sweat and tried to turn on the kitchen faucet. Water gushed out. All three perked up, scooping water with their hands and gulping it down, even pouring some over their heads. I pounded my leg in regret. A misstep. I had forgotten to cut off the water supply to the old villa, inadvertently giving them a break. I watched as they quenched their thirst and sat back down. "Dad, where did Mom go? I'm hungry. I want to eat the little wontons Mom makes." Lucas spoke listlessly. He wasn't close to Aunt Chloe anymore, pushing her away. When she tried to comfort him, even directing his anger at her, "It's all your fault. If you hadn't failed to book Mom's ticket, she wouldn't have gotten mad. I should be sitting in air conditioning eating watermelon right now. It's all your fault, you wretch. Why don't you just die?" Watching this, I couldn't help but laugh. My son's harsh words spared no one, aimed solely based on who was useful to him. But speaking of little wontons, I felt a bit hungry too. I got up, turned on the camping gas stove to boil some water, and went down to the second basement to fetch a box of previously prepared frozen wontons. Dropping them into the boiling water, stirring occasionally, she continued to watch the drama unfold. Chloe awkwardly withdrew her hand and resumed her efforts to stoke her husband's anger. "Yes, Jack, it's so hot today. It could be deadly. How could Ella just leave you here like this? Your family after all." Her husband repeatedly called me with a gloomy face, but without exception. I hung up each time. His gaze grew colder and colder. Eventually, he stopped trying to contact me and instead opened an unfamiliar app on his phone, where a little red dot was highlighted on the map. "It's okay. I had installed a tracking app on her phone. Bitch isn't answering my calls. Huh, good. She'd better hope I don't find her." A chill ran up my spine, sending shivers through me. In 4 hours, a severe heat apocalypse would arrive, bringing with it a massive storm, the steaming Heat from the ground mixed with moisture would make breathing difficult, and the temperature would instantly soar to a terrifying 80 degrees. If I could just hold out until then, I would be safe. The dumplings were ready, plump and round, floating to the surface. I served them in a bowl, adding shrimp skins, kelp, and sesame oil, and took a delightful sip of the soup that was so delicious it made my tongue tangle. After a moment's consideration, I took the initiative to call my husband while eating. "Jack, calm down, let's talk," but the person on the other end had clearly lost his senses due to the heat and the fact that I wanted to abandon them. He refused to communicate and just stared red-eyed towards the direction of the monitor. Taking a few steps closer, he showed me the small red dot on his phone that marked my location, his lips twisting into a cruel, mad smile. "So, you really want me dead? Want to guess who will end up killing whom? Ella, I'm coming to find you now." I tried to calm him down with my words, but to no avail. This time, he hung up the phone himself. He wet all the clothes in the suitcase and draped them over their heads. Turning, he saw a kitchen knife behind the kitchen door, grabbed it without hesitation, and even took a heavy steel pipe in his hand. Then he headed straight towards my location on the map. Before leaving, Chloe didn't forget to smirk provocatively at me. "Sister Ella, we're coming to find you." I casually curled the corner of my mouth, turned, and picked up a watermelon soaked in the well, slicing it open and scooping out a big spoonful. The juice was rich and sweet, refreshingly cool, and I squinted in comfort. Dark clouds filled the sky outside, with occasional distant thunder. With no vehicles on the road, the three of them had to walk. When I saw them again on the monitor, it was over 3 hours later. By then, all three were panting heavily, especially Jack, who was carrying the steel pipe, his eyes filled with almost tangible murderous intent. By now, I had eaten and drunk my fill, and even watched 2 episodes of a series while enjoying an ice pop. The elevator was still operating. When they reached the villa's front door, they started banging loudly. "Ella, come out and open the door," Jack demanded. Lucas and Chloe, following behind him, were completely frightened by his crazed demeanor. Hearing no response, Jack grew more agitated and began smashing the door forcefully with the steel pipe, blow after blow. After about 15 minutes, the door began to dent. I dropped the empty ice cream box, turned on the monitor, and yelled anxiously, "Stop smashing, stop, I'll tell you the password." Finally, Jack stopped. I watched the clock, starting to stall, haggle, and negotiate with them. With just 1 minute left, perhaps seeing victory in sight, I truly faltered, thinking of quickly getting inside to enjoy the air conditioning. They repeatedly assured me that they wouldn't harm me and readily agreed to all the conditions I proposed. Eventually, I gave in and told them the password. With a click, the door lock opened. Yet, Jack suddenly erupted, his face contorted with rage as he swung a kitchen knife towards where he anticipated I might be standing behind the door. "Die, bitch." As the rain poured down outside, the knife clattered to the ground. Jack, stunned, stared at the empty luxury apartment. On the dusty living room floor lay my old cell phone. The three of them stood frozen, bewildered, while I, watching from the surveillance end, couldn't help but burst into laughter. Having lived another life, I was naturally extremely cautious. They had merely moved from one empty house to another, even more inhospitable. With the arrival of the high-temperature apocalypse, the scoundrels and vile women were also in place. My game was finally about to begin. Jack and the others were now in the penthouse that we had agreed to purchase before our trip. Just outside the door, a ladder led up to the rooftop terrace. After paying the deposit, the agent had given us the keys and the utilities details. During the renovations, I had the place soundproofed and installed full house surveillance. There were no food supplies inside, and their phones had overheated and shut down during their journey here. The temperature had risen to a point where they couldn't venture out again. The rooftop was already hot, and now whether these three survived depended on whether I was willing to recharge their electricity and throw them some food. Realizing the situation, Jack began cursing loudly, calling me heartless and vowing to find and kill me. I picked up a big bag of cucumber-flavored chips and listened with relish as I ate, but soon, he ran out of energy. With the temperature nearing 80 degrees, the top floor without water or electricity made breathing feel like sparking flames. Not turning on the air conditioning was literally a matter of life and death, so he wisely stopped cursing, adopting a pleading tone in hopes of invoking my mercy. "Ella, after all these years together, you can't do this to me. Weren't you the one who loved me the most? We have a child together. You love him more than anything, don't you? Look at him. Look at our Lucas." Seeing his facile and ugly pleading made me lose my appetite. Wiping the crumbs off my hands, I turned on the surveillance microphone again. "Tell me a few things I don't know, and if I'm pleased, maybe I'll add some credit to your electricity." The three on the floor perked up, then looked uneasy. Chloe was the first to break. Starting off, "Your plane ticket at the airport was intentionally left unbooked by me. I wanted to see you humiliated in public and then enjoy a getaway with Jack." I scoffed lightly. I knew that. Not just me, Jack was also well aware. Chloe smiled awkwardly, then Lucas spoke, his lips trembling. "Mom, that big deal you were working on, Dad intentionally sabotaged it." He said he couldn't stand seeing you so arrogant, told me to disrupt the meeting and publicly call you a whore, a mistress to many. He thought if your reputation was ruined, he could further kick you while you were down, and then you'd be more compliant in giving us money. His words were cut off by a slap from Jack. Jack's face turned red as he glared at him, signaling him to shut up, but I simply continued. I knew that too. The father and son were stunned, their mouths opening and closing, but soon they didn't have the luxury to argue back. As the temperature continued to rise, Jack, gasping for breath, finally snapped at the camera. I've been sleeping with Chloe for a long time. I originally planned to ditch both you and your mom on this trip and elope with her. Lucas's eyes widened in shock, unable to believe what he was hearing. Jack, however, didn't even glance his way, his attention fixed solely on the monitor. So that's how it is. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. I nodded in understanding, generously topping up $10 for their electricity and thoughtfully turning on the air conditioner. The temperature in the room finally began to drop, but an eerie silence fell among the three of them. Their son, Lucas, was the first to break the silence aggressively. Dad, was what you just said true? Weren't you two supposed to take me with you? Was it all a lie? Both the unfaithful man and woman averted their gazes, pretending not to hear his accusation, leaving Lucas to rant and rave in frustration. Used to getting his way, Lucas couldn't handle being ignored and started to lash out. He struck at Jack and was quickly knocked to the floor by a few sharp slaps. Then he turned his anger towards Chloe. It's all your fault. You must have seduced Dad. Despite his small stature, he was surprisingly strong, grabbing Chloe's hair and not letting go, causing her to scream in pain and desperately seek Jack's help. Jack, unwilling to see his lover in distress, slapped Lucas several more times. This time, Lucas's stubborn side kicked in, and he bit into Jack's hand, refusing to let go. The three of them were caught up in a heated brawl. Meanwhile, I was in a great mood, preparing a curry omelet rice dish. I poured the beaten eggs into the pan, letting them partially set before rolling them into a bundle, frying them until golden and crispy on the outside but still slightly runny inside. I laid this over glistening white rice, drizzled curry sauce over it, and gently cut it open. The runny egg mixed with the curry sauce, covering the rice with a delicious aroma. In my past life, they had tricked me and left me outside for 2 full days without a bite of food or a sip of water. Driven by hunger, I had to resort to peeling bark and nibbling on tree leaves to get a bit of moisture. Now, with the temperature in this underground level not even reaching 30 degrees, I could cook near an open flame without breaking a sweat. I even grabbed a can of cold cola, relishing my meal amidst their chaotic cries of pain, and even had time for a bath and a short nap. After resting enough, I once again turned on the surveillance monitor. The temperature had barely dropped, and they finally realized another problem: supplies. The room was empty. I had made sure there was no food or water left. All three were bruised and battered, and now they reunited to check inside and out before returning to the monitor. Pitifully begging, I spoke calmly. I've prepared some supplies for you. They're on the rooftop, in 3 boxes, each secured with a 4-digit code. First, the code for the first box, I said, my gaze hardening. Jack, we once had another child. It was winter back then. I was on a business trip in a northern city when Chloe and Lucas suddenly came to see me, saying Lucas wanted to go skiing. I was nearly 3 months pregnant at the time and had planned to surprise my husband upon returning, so I hadn't told anyone yet. However, Chloe found out and persuaded Lucas to push me down the ski slope. I lay in the snow, blood flowing freely beneath me. They left me to freeze for nearly an hour, ensuring the child was lost before calling for emergency help. From then on, not only did I lose my child, but I also developed a condition where my joints would ache unbearably whenever I got cold. Chloe wanted me to keep it a secret for the sake of the child. Looking at Lucas, who had pushed me, I chose to swallow all the bitter consequences alone. Now, bringing up the past, the faces of Lucas and Chloe turned sour. Jack exploded with rage. He grabbed Lucas fiercely, roaring, "What the hell is going on?" Lucas' eyes darted around as he stuttered, and Chloe said that if you had a new child, you wouldn't love me anymore. I'd be left to starve and sleep on the streets. She also told me that pregnant women are sensitive to cold and sudden impacts, and if I pushed Mom down the snowy slopes, no one would compete with me for attention. Jack, his eyes bloodshot, kicked his son towards the wall. He then turned his cold gaze towards Chloe, trembling. Chloe tried to run, but Jack grabbed her by the hair and pulled her back. She screamed like a pig being slaughtered, and as a fist was about to strike her, she cried out while clutching her stomach, "Don't hit me. I'm also carrying your child." At this revelation, Jack instantly calmed down. He looked at Chloe's stomach, chuckled twice in surprise, and carefully helped her sit down. I was stunned, but more than that, I felt a deep chill. In my past life, how blind was I to have chosen such a man as my husband, even caring for him at the cost of my own life? The despicable man and the vile woman quickly smoothed things over and started to discuss the timing of my miscarriage. On December 25th, during the bustling Christmas celebrations abroad, my child silently left this world. There was no sign of sorrow for the lost child on the man's face. Once they had figured out a plan, he eagerly headed towards the rooftop. Halfway there, he stopped, turned back, and dragged Lucas, who was clutching his stomach and gasping for air. He pointed a kitchen knife at his once beloved son. "It's too hot outside. Go and bring the supplies down." Lucas, incredulous and cursing under his breath, cowered when Jack drew the knife and reluctantly left. Outside, a heavy rain was falling, and Jack watched as Lucas climbed the ladder to the rooftop. It took a long time before he returned with just 2 bottles of water and 2 small loaves of bread. Jack slapped him on the head. "You little beast. Did you eat some of the supplies? Why so little?" "Soaked through," Lucas gasped and held his face, defending himself. "I checked. There were only these in the first box, and the boxes were welded to the ground. I couldn't move them." Jack snatched the food away, cursing. That evening, he and Chloe each had a bottle of water and a loaf of bread, while Lucas could only shiver wetly in a corner, with nothing. Watching this fatherly love from behind a screen, I couldn't help but laugh out loud, tears nearly falling. Lucas had once betrayed me, choosing his father over me. And now, it was his father who disregarded his life. I felt no pity. I went to cut a plate of fruit, enjoyed it on my cool waterbed while watching a show, and contentedly went to sleep. The next day, I checked the surveillance again. Lucas' cheeks were red, and he occasionally coughed, probably having caught a cold from the rain and wind. After yesterday's revelations, they had completely turned on Lucas. Not only did they make him massage their backs and legs, but they also pushed him to a corner. Far from the air conditioner, however, I hadn't paid much for electricity, and the air conditioning soon stopped, forcing them once again under the surveillance. This time, their mutual revelations were much more practiced. Chloe spoke first, pursing her lips. "In fact, every time I reported the cost of our trips to Jack, I inflated the price 2 to 3 times. I've already saved enough for a house with the money I scammed from you," I coldly said. "I know." Then Lucas, his voice choked with emotion. "I actually knew early on that Dad and Chloe were together. I covered for them during their previous trips." He looked at the surveillance, his eyes red. "Mom, I was wrong. They were deceiving me before. Now I know only you truly care about me. Mom, I don't want to stay here anymore. Can you take me away?" He sobbed uncontrollably, but I remained unmoved, speaking calmly. "Jack, it's your turn." He resignedly closed his eyes, mumbling a few indistinct words, but I heard him clearly. He said, "Ella, I bought you an expensive personal accident insurance policy years ago." My body trembled slightly, and I was nearly at a loss for words. All the previous details suddenly linked together in my mind. Jack abruptly stood up. 0813 Ella. "The second group's password is 0813, right?" I exhaled softly. My long-held suspicions finally resolved. Indeed. How could a villain forget the evil deeds they deliberately committed? 2 years ago, on August 13th, we went camping by a creek, and halfway there, we encountered Chloe. I waded into the creek to catch some small fish for my son. As I bent over, Chloe suddenly emerged and pushed my head underwater. Caught off guard, I choked on water, desperately struggling, but no match for Chloe's brute strength. When my consciousness began to blur, I vaguely saw Jack walking over with Lucas, thinking I was saved. I reached out to them, but they just coldly stood by, not coming forward. It wasn't until another camper happened by that Chloe, fearing discovery, hastily let go, and I finally surfaced afterward. Chloe insisted she was just joking, and Jack claimed I had been mistaken, that he hadn't been near the creek at all, so they had bought insurance on me a long time ago. They indeed intended to drown me that day, a plan my own husband had orchestrated, while my own son just coldly observed, touching my cheeks. I realized they were already wet with tears. Those who betray sincerity deserve severe punishment. They had it coming. I wiped my tears, yet I still topped up their electricity bill by $10 more. It wasn't time yet. I still had to endure, growing impatient for my reply. Jack lost his patience. He kicked Lucas, sending him to the rooftop to fetch supplies. By then, the torrential rain had stopped, the sun was blinding, and the temperature soared to 85 degrees. Lucas took even longer than before to come down from the rooftop. Almost completely dehydrated, we managed to open the second box, which contained only a bottle of water and a bag of small bread. Jack, as usual, snatched them immediately, his expression somewhat unpleasant. He stood at the door, consuming the water and bread without leaving a bite for the others. Chloe and Lucas were angry but dared not speak. At night, as usual, Lucas was forced to sleep in the corner farthest from the air conditioner. With such scant supplies, Jack and Chloe were already plotting to raid other apartments or, if necessary, target Lucas. Lucas hung his head as if unaware, but He clutched a small piece of paper tightly in his hand. I had left it in the second box, with only one sentence written on it. There's a bottle of bleach and a bottle of toilet cleaner in the toilet tank. Mixing them will produce toxic gas. Use in a sealed space can be lethal. Seeing Lucas's trembling body, I knew he was tempted. Sure enough, that night, after the two were asleep, Lucas stole a kitchen knife and a steel pipe, decisively mixing the two liquids in a basin and pushing it into the bedroom, then locking the door. Jack and Chloe had gone to sleep in the bedroom, where the air conditioning was stronger. In the completely sealed room, by the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. They had already inhaled a significant amount of the gas. Chloe, frail and weak, couldn't move at all. Desperate, she grabbed Jack's hand, begging him to save her, but he coldly shoved her away, poisoned in his bed. Jack could barely move, but he mustered his last bit of strength to kick open the door. Before he could catch his breath, Lucas, who was waiting at the door, struck his head with a cleaver, in pain. Jack clutched his head, trying to run outside, but Lucas mercilessly chased after him, slashing continuously. Ultimately, Jack didn't make it out the front door. Lucas hacked him to death right by it. I watched the tragedy unfold silently through the screen. These people had repeatedly attempted to take my life. Now, as they turned on each other like dogs, their fate was of their own making, and their deaths were of no consequence. I felt neither sorrow for them nor any sense of satisfaction. Once it was clear both were dead, Lucas dropped the cleaver, gasping heavily as he looked towards the direction of the surveillance camera, his eyes filled with sorrow. Mom, I now understand why you did all this. I remember everything from my past life. Lucas suddenly recalled the memories of his previous life at this moment, but that was just as well. He should understand that I will never forgive them. Lucas tipped down the surveillance camera and walked towards the roof door. Last time, when you went out to find water and food for Dad and me, we locked you out of the house, but you didn't die right away, in revenge for your previous strictness towards me. Later, he closed his eyes, seemingly unwilling to remember or speak further, so I continued for him. Later, you used the drone I gave you, dangling water and food, to lure me onto the rooftop of the guest house. You teased me, making me kneel, strip, and crawl around barking like a dog, but after I complied, you poured out the water and threw the food into the outdoor latrine. You watched as I slowly dehydrated to death on the rooftop, naked. Even as the drone's battery exploded, I could still hear you and two others clapping and mocking inside the house. Lucas's lips trembled, his body bending more with each word I spoke. The rooftop before him overlapped with the platform from his previous life. He bent over, trembling so much he could hardly stand. I'm sorry. His voice was so hoarse it was almost inaudible. I spoke faintly. So, the code for the third box is the date of my death in my past life. Don't you want to see what's inside? Trembling, he walked over and opened the box. Inside was a drone, identical to the one from his past life. He looked away as if burned, then forced himself to look back, squatting down to hold the drone in his arms. Mom, you will never forgive me. I deserve everything that's happening now, he murmured to himself. My gaze was icy. Indeed, how could I possibly forgive? Lucas glanced at the drone, then at his hands covered in blood, seeming to lose his sanity, mumbling incoherently. Finally, he took a few running steps and jumped off the rooftop. The surveillance camera and drone battery exploded together, and the screen went black. The last bit of resentment in my heart finally dissipated, and I exhaled deeply. I touched the corner of my eye. There were no tears, of course. I had cried all my tears in my past life. Afterward, I continued living normally in the basement, maintaining a regular routine, improving my cooking skills, and avidly reading to better myself. Having been given a second chance at life, I finally began learning how to love myself. A year later, the high-temperature apocalypse finally ended. With sufficient resources, my life was unaffected. The disaster killed countless people, and by the time order was restored and reconstruction began, the three evildoers were nothing but bones, leaving no evidence behind. I used the money I had to pay off all debts and actively participated in post-disaster reconstruction. I sold the large apartment at an unexpectedly stable price. With sufficient money and a better version of myself, I was set for a bright future. Story 2. They locked the front door from the inside, refusing to let me in. I knelt at the door, humbly pleading for them to let us in. While inside they enjoyed the air conditioning, eating ice cream and frozen watermelon. My daughter and I were left to succumb to the heat at the doorstep. When I opened my eyes again, I received another call from my mother pleading to stay temporarily, wishing they would meet their end. I responded indifferently, let my brother and his wife come over for a few days. I actually missed them. This time, I planned to indulge with my daughter, watching them slowly despair and succumb to the heat. Mommy, what's wrong? I clenched my teeth, my eyes bloodshot, my body couldn't stop shaking. The phone screen was nearly crushed in my hand, showing several jagged cracks. "Mommy, don't be like this. Ming is scared." Hearing my daughter Ming's tender cries, I snapped out of my overwhelming hatred, remembering how she suffered from heat burns in her last life, her body red and blistered. My heart almost broke. I squatted down and held my little daughter tightly, hugging her closer and closer. My eyes stung unbearably, and tears couldn't help but pour down. Thank goodness, Ming and I have been reborn the day before the deadly heatwave. I hadn't fully recovered from the shock when my mother's call came again, unlike her earlier subdued weeping. This time she questioned with a blaming tone, "Vera, why haven't you sent the address yet? I've already spoken with your brother and his wife. They didn't want to come initially, but seeing your sincerity, they agreed to visit. Make sure you take good care of them. Your sister-in-law is carrying our family's precious grandchild. Whatever she requests, you must agree to it. Do you hear? Also, your brother wants a seafood feast. Get that ready too. He's been craving it badly. In my past life, it was the same. After successfully obtaining my address, they started making all kinds of unreasonable demands. I initially didn't want them to stay, but she said my dad had a severe heart attack and might not make it, wanting me to be with him in his last days, even if I didn't want to have anything to do with them. I couldn't just refuse entry to my dying father, but just half an hour after I sent the address, their whole family arrived with bags packed and took over my house. My dad didn't seem like he had a heart condition at all. He didn't even change his shoes, briskly walked around my house, nodding in satisfaction. Later, I found out that my dad never had a heart disease. They conspired to deceive me, just to forcefully take over my house. Since my sister-in-law was pregnant, they threatened that without a house, she would go to the hospital and abort their precious grandchild. I refused to transfer the house to them, so they plotted to kill me. As the deadly heatwave approached, supplies at home became scarce. They forced me to go out repeatedly to gather supplies. When the outdoor temperature reached a terrifying 70 degrees, I refused to risk going out again while I was cooking. They lured my 5-year-old daughter out of the house, after a struggle to find her downstairs, suffering from sunburn, but they locked the front door from the inside, refusing to let me come home. Kneeling at the door, I pounded on it desperately, pleading for them to let us in. If we didn't cool down soon, my daughter would truly succumb to the heat. I even warned them that the air conditioning system would eventually fail, and that I had a safer place for long-term refuge. They were convinced I was lying just to get inside. Inside, they sat in air-conditioned comfort, savoring chilled desserts to beat the heat, while mocking me with their words. My brother Lawson, who had been a parasite on me for 28 years, sneered, "Sis, don't bother. It's nice knowing I can kill you without lifting a finger. Did you really think I'd be foolish enough to let you in and share our food and house with you?" His wife cackled loudly, "Big sister, your husband is already dead, and your daughter will soon be too. Just give up and join them. I'll take care of inheriting your wealth and jewelry. Rest assured." Ha ha ha. My mother, feigning sympathy, sighed, "Vera, don't blame your parents. If anyone, blame your bad luck for marrying such a doomed man." My father said viciously, "Vera, just go die already. Once you're dead, the house will belong to Lawson." My daughter stopped breathing entirely, filled with rage and hatred. I wanted to tear them apart and devour their flesh piece by piece, but all I could do was wail helplessly amid their endless curses and humiliations. I screamed in despair and closed my eyes unwillingly. "Hello, Vera, are you listening to me?" Struggling to keep my voice calm amid the surging hatred, I said, "Mom, Ming and I are at my in-laws' place. I've given you the address, but you can't get in without the keys. Wait until I've cleaned up the rooms, then you can come over. Why are you even going back to his house after he's been dead for over a year?" My mom suddenly raised her voice. "Are you giving money to that crazy woman again? Huh? I'm telling you." Before she could finish, my dad grabbed the phone. "Ungrateful girl, you have money to give to strangers but not to honor your own parents. Are you out of your mind?" Lawson added furiously, "Seriously sick in the head." My dad continued to yell, "Get that money back immediately, all of it. Check if they have any good wine left too and bring a couple of bottles for me. Just send us 5,000 first. We need to stay in a hotel. I don't even have money for my medical bills. And you, an unfilial daughter, don't even care about your own father." Even before seeing them, my dad's greedy, arrogant, and ugly face flooded my mind. "Make sure the house is ready for us when we get back. Your sister-in-law is pregnant and needs the biggest room with the softest bed." Got it. They were hastening to their own demise, and who was I to refuse? "Okay, Dad, you and Mom rest well at the hotel, and I'll call you once I'm back." I transferred 10,000 directly to my dad. He accepted it immediately. With that much money, they would enjoy the big city life for a while. Hopefully, they wouldn't bother me for at least 3 days. It was time for me to stock up on supplies. If they wanted my house, they'd have to be alive to claim it. My husband had started his business in the liquor trade, and when we bought this house, we also acquired a 200 square meter basement and converted it into a wine cellar. The cellar was warm in winter and cool in summer. Maintaining a constant temperature of 15 degrees Celsius, extreme temperatures could adversely affect the quality of the liquor. The cellar's air conditioning and insulation systems were well maintained, and it was also designed to be moisture and mold resistant. Solar panels were installed along the corner of the first floor, ensuring that even in a power outage, the wine cellar would be unaffected. Previously, my husband mentioned, the wine cellar is capable of withstanding temperatures as high as 60 to 70 degrees Celsius and as low as minus 40 to 50 degrees Celsius. The day I died was the 10th day of a heat wave. The temperature soared to 70 degrees. In my rush to find my daughter, I never imagined they had no plans of letting me return home. The keys to the wine cellar were left at home. Now, what I need to do is stall them while I stock up on supplies. During this time, I first called my in-laws, falsely claiming I had an urgent matter to attend to, asking them to look after the children for a few days. Explaining the real reason for them to take refuge would be hard for the elderly to accept. In my previous life, I was too careless when the heatwave struck, thinking it would pass in a few days, so I only advised the old couple to take care against the heat and stay indoors. I don't know if they survived that natural disaster. Over the years, my in-laws have placed unconditional trust in me, and they arrived within an hour. I left my child, Ming Ming, in the care of my mother-in-law. I explained to my father-in-law that I wanted to enhance the heat insulation of the wine cellar and convert it into a space suitable for long-term living. My father-in-law, who was a construction worker, had overseen the cellar's renovation himself. The secrecy of the project was well maintained, and the security measures were impeccable. To this day, no one knows what the space is used for. I mentioned that the recent temperatures were abnormal and it's best to be prepared. He didn't ask much but suggested his own ideas. A 200 square meter living area was too large. It could be divided into smaller sections, with changes to the air conditioning system for separate control. The living area's temperature should be maintained between 19 to 24 degrees Celsius. Furthermore, using materials with good insulation properties, the inner walls should be restructured. Also, connect the previously reserved water pipes to install a flushing toilet and build a simple restroom. A smoke duct linked to the chimney would solve the cooking issue. Choosing shade-tolerant indoor plants like pothose or spider plants not only purifies the air but also helps reduce indoor temperatures through transpiration. With my father-in-law overseeing this, I felt reassured. With time pressing, we divided the tasks. He took charge of reinforcing the wine cellar, while I handled the stockpiling. When my husband was seriously ill, we spent all our savings on his medical treatment for over a year. Ming Ming and I have been living off the sale of various expensive wines left by my husband. I sold the wine in batches at slightly lower prices than usual, eventually gathering over $8 million in revenue. I transferred $500,000 to my father-in-law for purchasing building materials. The emptied wine racks were perfect for storing supplies. I alerted the property management of my residential complex in advance about renovating my home and that building materials would be entering the complex soon. After lunch, I quickly drove to the grain and oil market, taking advantage of current stable prices. I stocked up on rice, flour, oil, and smokeless coal, plus a large quantity of dried kelp, dried shiitake mushrooms, dried wood ear mushrooms, dried seaweed, dried fruits, and other dry goods, and 2 folding bamboo beds. I placed nearly $100,000 worth of orders across 4 stores, claiming I was preparing to stock a supermarket. To avoid suspicion, I set strict timelines for them, ensuring that my goods would be delivered to a warehouse I had recently rented behind the complex at staggered times today. If delivered on time, I promised a generous bonus. Driven by the prospect of money, they nodded vigorously, agreeing to ensure the task was completed. My father-in-law called 2 reliable apprentices to help us transfer the stock into the construction material truck, drive it into the complex, and directly into the wine cellar. We worked together until 2 a.m. to settle all the stock and building materials. To show my appreciation, I gave each of them 2 bottles of premium Matai and an additional $50,000 as a hardship fee. I promised them an extra $100,000 in wages once they helped my father-in-law finish remodeling the wine cellar. I also reminded them to stock up on food at home. After a night of repairs, early the next morning, my father-in-law and his 2 apprentices were busy in the wine cellar. I continued to shuttle between various malls, supermarkets, and convenience stores. I purchased over 100 boxes of instant noodles, several hundred self-heating rice meals and hot pots, and over 100 boxes of mineral water, canned goods, and compressed biscuits. Countless fresh vegetables are vacuum-packed. Various snacks and drinks have piled up into a small mountain in the warehouse. There are health products for the elderly, vitamins, calcium tablets, common medicines, band-aids, bandages, and antiseptic solutions. As many cooling patches and herbal concoctions as we need to relieve the heat. To pass the time, there are Lego sets, chess, Go, darts, and projection sports equipment. Thinking of the unpredictable human nature in a crisis, I've also stocked up on mace, stun guns, Swiss Army knives, flashlights, and candles. At night, we repeated our old tricks, pulling the goods into the wine cellar under the cover of building materials. After a day of rushing work, the living area was separated from the storage area. The previously used wine racks are now in the storage area, piled high with food I've bought. The insulation on the inner walls has also solidified. My father-in-law even built a simple stove and sink. The bathroom is also completed with running water. Inside the storage area, there is a water tank that is 1.5 meters high and 5 meters long. Seeing these supplies, enough to sustain our family in the wine cellar for a year or even longer, I finally felt at ease. Day 3. I was still at home packing clothes to move to the wine cellar when my mother called. Vera, is everything packed? Hurry and send me the address. We'll come over after lunch. I thought they wouldn't contact me until tomorrow. It seems I need to hurry. Okay, I'll send it right now. My mom continued. Oh right, transfer another 2,000 yuan to your brother. We're having a seafood feast. It's 1,800 yuan, expensive, but really delicious. It's only thanks to your brother that we get to enjoy such good things. I've grown accustomed to such shameless comments. Mom, didn't I just give you 10,000 yuan? Did you spend it all already, before my mom could respond? My dad burst out furiously. You ungrateful girl, still holding on to the money after giving it. Do you think 10,000 yuan is a lot? You worthless, money-sucking creature. Other girls would rather work a year abroad and send home 200,000 or 300,000 yuan, and you're the most useless. I should have strangled you at birth and saved the money spent on you. He ranted endlessly, and I could hear over the phone that Lawson and his wife were slurping seafood and giggling, repeating my dad's insults. My dad always manages to make me feel even more miserable when I am already desperate. In my previous life, I might have still cared about the faint blood ties, but now, they are merely my enemies, lambs to the slaughter. My mom, seemingly intervening on my behalf, commanded in a firm tone, your dad has a weak heart, don't make him angry anymore, hurry up and transfer the money. I transferred the money to Lawson, who, just like my dad, accepted the transfer instantly without saying a word. In their eyes, spending my money is natural. No, they don't think they're spending my money, they consider it their own, because my parents always say, what's mine is Lawson's, enjoy it, because this is the last grand meal you'll ever have. The mother-in-law knew my parents were coming and didn't want to meet them. She initially wanted to return home, but there was still some finishing work to be done in the wine cellar, so she decided to help my father-in-law instead. I held her hand. I slipped the key to the wine cellar into her palm, promising her that I would soon join them to live together. At 2 in the afternoon, my parents, Lawson, and my sister-in-law were fiercely banging on the front door. There was a doorbell right there, but it was as if they were all blind and couldn't see it. I had barely cracked the door open when Lawson kicked it wide open. The door slammed against the wall and bounced back violently. Even though I dodged quickly, my shoulder was still struck by the door, and for a moment, it felt as if my bones had cracked from the pain. Crouching down, I clutched my shoulder, curled up on the ground in agony. After all this knocking, Vera, are you trying to kill us? Did you lock us out on purpose? Don't you know how hot it is outside? Lawson kicked me fiercely again and strode into the house. My sister-in-law, caressing her belly and fanning herself, said sarcastically, if you didn't want us here, you shouldn't have pretended to be generous, begging us to come, only to leave us out like monkeys. You scared your precious grandchild just now. What were you thinking, big sister? My father, with his hands behind his back as if inspecting the field, looked around. My mother stuffed a piece of cured meat into my arms, urging, hurry up and cook this before it spoils. Your father and your brother have been craving it. They haven't eaten it in 2 days. No one cared whether my injury was serious or painful, only my 5-year-old daughter ran over in fear, blowing on my shoulder, with his nose in the air and hands still behind his back. My father asked my sister-in-law, Lola, are you satisfied with this house? Satisfied? It lacks everything. Didn't you say my big sister used to be quite wealthy? My sister-in-law complained, pointing around the nearly empty house. Lawson, after a circle around the house with his phone in hand, asked me angrily, Vera, what's going on here? There's not even a sofa or air conditioning. I can't even lie down to play games. Are you trying to kill us with this heat? Funny, right after getting a call from my mom at noon, I paid 10 times the price to hire a moving company. I swiftly had all the large furniture in the house packed up and moved to a warehouse I rented. The small appliances were all moved to the wine cellar. I know them too well. They leave nothing behind wherever they go. In my past life, my sister-in-law took all my jewelry, designer clothes, bags, and cosmetics for herself. She even took my iPad to watch TV shows. Lawson monopolized my computer to play games, my parents threw away my collectibles and my daughter's toys like trash. When I objected, my father slapped me twice loudly. Lawson and my sister-in-law fanned the flames, feeling sorry for my father's hands. My mother ran to the kitchen and handed him a rolling pin. Now, except for a bed and an air conditioner in my bedroom and a custom-made wardrobe in the hallway, the house was nearly devoid of furniture. Oh, not quite. There were also 4 small 20 centimeters high stools that I had specially prepared for them this time. They wouldn't be able to take anything away. My father seemed to realize something, raising his hand to hit me. You ungrateful girl, where are all the things in the house? How dare you invite us over when there's nothing here? Who gave you the courage, having died once already? I'm no longer afraid of this bully. I deflected his descending hand. Dad, after James left, I lost my source of income. How am I supposed to live if I don't sell things? Should I just ask you for money? The 10,000 I gave you and the 2,000 to Lawson were my last assets. Now I'm penniless. You can stay here as long as you want, but from now on, you'll have to cover your own living expenses. Lawson was the first to object. What do you mean, you bitch? We come to your house as guests and you expect us to pay for our own meals. Are you trying to rebel, forgetting your own surname? Outnumbered, I suppressed the urge to tear his mouth apart and turned to smile at my mom and siblings. Mom, brother, sister, does Lawson call you bitches at home too? Lawson clenched his fists, grinding his teeth as he glared at me. My sister's face turned red. None of your business. If you don't want to get hit, you better find a way to get another bed. There's only one bed in the house. Where are mom and dad supposed to sleep? I'm still carrying your family's child, you know. She emphasized the last sentence heavily, unconsciously straightening her back, her words already claiming the only bed in the master bedroom. After speaking, she ran straight to the master bedroom, turned on the air conditioning, and lay on the bed browsing her phone helplessly. I spread my hands. Like I said, I have no money. There's no extra bed, but there are blankets. You can sleep on the floor, you wicked girl. I see you're doing this on purpose. I'll beat you to death. My dad raised his hand to hit me. My mom quickly pushed me aside, pretending to keep the peace. Just hold your tongue. If you upset your dad and his heart condition flares up, I think you should stay at your mother-in-law's for a few days until your dad's better, then come back. I was secretly pleased, as this was exactly what I wanted, but I pretended to be aggrieved. This is my home. Are you trying to drive me out? Your dad needs peace and quiet. Too many people around isn't good for his health. You wouldn't want anything to happen to him, right? Besides, you don't have anything at your place, and as a married daughter, you shouldn't be dependent on your parents. It's embarrassing for you and doesn't reflect well on us either. They were clearly using the excuse of caring for my dad's health to drive me out. When he would be well again was up to them to decide. If they got used to living there, trying to get my house back would be harder than reaching the heavens. I frowned, deeply troubled. My mom patiently brainwashed me, and eventually, with a sigh of resignation, I reluctantly agreed. Lawson, too fatigued from standing, soon gave up and sat huddled on a small stool, sweating profusely, looking like a strawberry tart in a restroom. He continued playing his game, not looking up, commanding, "You can leave, but leave the car. I need it." I didn't bother to argue, took nothing with me, and left with my daughter in high spirits. After all the commotion, it was already evening. The temperature had skyrocketed from 38 degrees during the day to 42, the duplicitous family, delighted by my imminent departure. Little did they know, a half-year-long extreme heat wave was about to begin. The drama I had long anticipated was about to unfold. Want me to bring a fan in the middle of the night? I went straight with my daughter to the wine cellar, and as soon as I entered, I smelled a delicious aroma. My daughter hopped and skipped happily to her grandmother. "Grandma, it smells wonderful. Ming Ming loves the dishes you cook." Grandma smiled broadly and picked her up. Ming Ming really knows how to make Grandma happy. I stepped back outside to make sure I couldn't smell the food or hear any noises before re-entering. Grandma had cooked a plate of ribs and was stewing beef with potatoes. Grandpa had also washed his hands and was showing me his day's work. In such a short time, he had used sheet metal and steel plates to separate the living area into a kitchen, dining room, 2 bedrooms, and an entertainment room. It looked even more like a home now. During dinner, I opened the camera app on my phone. Since I was alone with my child, sometimes, when I have urgent matters and must leave the house, I can only leave my daughter at home. To ensure her safety, I have installed cameras in every room. However, when my parents mentioned they were coming over, I took down all the cameras except for those in the living room and the master bedroom. I even switched to miniature cameras, which I hid on top of the curtain rods, as soon as I turned on the video. I heard Lawson complaining about being starving and urging my mom to hurry up and cook. My mom scurried to the kitchen, rummaging through the cabinets in a flurry. My in-laws, seeing me glued to my phone and grinning, couldn't help but look over curiously. Just then, my mom stormed out of the kitchen, fuming and green-faced, exclaiming, "That girl has gone mad with poverty. She even sold the pots. How am I supposed to cook?" My dad and brother had no sympathy. All they cared about was that they were hungry and there needed to be food on the table. In reality, I had left them plenty, half a bag of rice, half a bag of flour, half a bucket of oil, and a packet of noodles. Knowing my mom, with that much supply, she wouldn't think of replenishing it right away. Lawson grumbled, then hurry up and buy some. Do you want to starve your son and your precious grandson? My dad, puffing on a cigarette and dropping ashes on the floor, yelled at her, what are you waiting for? Do you need me to carry you there in a palanquin? All right, I'm going now. I'm going, my mom replied, cautiously edging along the wall as she left. My mom was too naive, trying to appear good in front of me while not daring to offend my dad. She attempted to join him in suppressing me, hoping for a shred of pity from him, to be held in higher regard. After all these years, she still hadn't realized that whenever I was not home, she was always the one being oppressed and living on thin ice. Serves her right, I thought to myself. As I took a big spoonful of mashed potatoes, the in-laws exchanged a heavy look, and my mother-in-law spoke. Vera, isn't this a bit too much? I smiled and replied, Mom, they are the excessive ones. Don't you know their true colors by now? They're clearly after the house this time. My in-laws immediately tensed up. I quickly reassured them, don't worry, this house is your son's hard work. I won't let them succeed. Just watch the drama unfold. After dinner, the in-laws played with my daughter, while I quickly washed the dishes and organized the storage area. Energized by the cool, stocked cellar, my mother-in-law offered to help, but I told her and my father-in-law to go to bed early with my daughter. They had been quite worn out these past few days. Suddenly, my phone rang, and it was already midnight. I answered to hear my mom's anxious voice. Vera, is there not even a fan in your house? Even a handheld one would do. How is it getting even hotter? Your brother and his wife are resting, and we can't go to their room to enjoy the air conditioning. Your dad and I can't stand the heat. Order an air conditioner online to be delivered tomorrow, and for now, get a fan from your mother-in-law's house. My dad sighed at just the right moment. Your dad is about to suffer heat stroke. Hurry up. Glancing at the weather forecast, which showed temperatures soaring to 45 degrees Celsius, I yawned and said nonchalantly, Mom, look at the time. It's the middle of the night, and my mother-in-law lives in the suburbs. There's no way to get a car to the city at this hour. If Lawson had let me take the car today, I would definitely have brought you a fan overnight. These vampires only remember me when they want to feast and revel. Every time there are difficulties, they call on me for help unexpectedly. Lawson was right there too. Vera, what do you mean? Are you blaming me? He asked. I didn't hold back in my response. If not you, then who? Our parents are old, and Dad has a heart condition. Shouldn't you, as their son, willingly give up the air-conditioned room for them? After saying that, I added forcefully, if you don't, it's simply unfilial. Previously, they used to manipulate me morally with that accusation. If I didn't hand over my salary, I was labeled unfilial, and they would go as far as to cause a scene at my workplace, jeopardizing my job. If I couldn't provide a dowry of 1 million, I was deemed unfilial, and they would hide the household registration book to prevent me from getting married. If I didn't transfer the property to Lawson, I was unfilial, and they pressured me to do so on the 7th day after my husband's death. Lawson, furious, shouted at me, what right do you, a useless financial burden, have to criticize me? I'm the only hope for the family line, and if I get overheated, what then? I scoffed. To continue your lazy lineage and succeed your lack of achievements, with your inferior genes, do we really need to continue that? It's just a drag on society. Vera, are you looking for trouble? Dare to say that again, he challenged. I yawned exaggeratedly, throwing his harsh words right back at him. It's too late. I'm going to sleep. At worst, the 4 of you could squeeze in together. With that, I hung up the phone, turning on the surveillance on my phone. I saw Lawson fuming by the bed, his face turning blue, while his sister-in-law covered her head with a blanket. My parents stood by their bed, arms crossed, with the air conditioning on, temporarily alleviating the sweltering heat outside. Perhaps my words had an effect, as they remained at an impasse. Finally, his sister-in-law couldn't take it anymore. She emerged from under the covers, angrily saying, what do you all want standing here? Do you really want to squeeze in together to sleep? Let me tell you, no way. Lawson didn't utter a word but sneakily glanced at our parents' expressions. My dad, who usually carries himself with such authority at home, was not used to being confronted like this and was panting heavily. Seeing my dad about to explode, his sister-in-law hurriedly played her trump card, her voice trembling. Don't forget, I'm carrying a child. Immediately, my dad dared not move. His cheek muscles twitched violently, and his gaze at my sister-in-law darkened. I could already imagine the kind of life she would lead after giving birth. I wondered if she could endure until then. The following day, unable to bear the heat any longer. My parents gritted their teeth and went to find a hotel to stay in. The next day, they returned. My dad, hands on his hips, was cooling his face with a small electric fan. My mom, always hardworking and physically robust, carried a new electric fan, a large bag of vegetables and fruits, an electric rice cooker, an iron pot, and a folding table. At that moment, the temperature was still hovering around 45 degrees Celsius. It was their last chance to gather supplies as the temperature was set to soar to 50 degrees by nightfall, nearing the limits of human survival and making it dangerous to go outside. Even in the hottest times here, it usually only reached 42 degrees. Tomorrow, everyone would realize the abnormal weather conditions and would start panic buying, causing prices to skyrocket and supplies to become scarce. Given the many mouths they had to feed, including 2 big eaters, the remaining supplies at home would last them at most 4 or 5 days, indeed. The next day, the community chat groups exploded with discussions about the abnormal weather, and everyone was anxious. The phone screen displayed an external temperature of 50 degrees. A resident shared a video in the community group showing the streets almost empty of pedestrians, scattered with the bodies of stray cats and dogs that had succumbed to the heat, along with several blurred figures of homeless people who had dried out. My parents couldn't see the messages in the homeowners group, but from the floor-to-ceiling windows of our home, we could see the supermarket downstairs was swamped with people. My dad stood by the window, mocking those panicking, believing the weather would return to normal in a couple of days. It wasn't until the 7th day that he realized the severity of the situation when he saw online that the authorities had already issued continuous statements and activated a Level 1 disaster response alert. By then, our food supplies had run out and the air conditioner had broken down after running nonstop. The temperature had inexplicably risen to 60 degrees. This time, it was Lawson who video called me, not only asking me to send food back but also to find someone to fix the air conditioner. He had just angrily called out my name when he froze. "Sis, are you drinking a cold Coke? How do you still have ice cream?" Because at the moment the call connected, my daughter was playfully complaining to her grandmother, "The water is so cold, it's freezing." My cute little tongue, I chuckled awkwardly. "Oh, you caught me. Yes, cold drinks, chilled watermelon, and oh, this ice cream is just too refreshing. Grandpa, Grandma, come say hi to my parents." Grandpa sipped his premium Mai Tai while Grandma poured juice for my daughter, smiling warmly at the camera. "Hello, dear in-laws." My parents' faces were as dark as the bottom of a pot, as if to say, "We're nearly dying from the heat and hunger. What's there to be happy about?" Lawson, drooling with envy, chuckled. "You even have cold watermelon. That's great, sis. Please send us some food quickly. I haven't eaten in 2 days, and the air conditioner is also broken." The 4 of them were drenched in sweat, their faces flushed, huddled in front of a fan, constantly fanning themselves. I stuffed another big piece of watermelon into my mouth and mumbled, "I can't make it back. Bro, didn't you see everything outside is melting? Going outside means getting cooked alive. How much are you willing to pay for someone to risk their life to fix your air conditioner?" "What should we do then, sis? We are cold and hungry. You can't just watch us freeze and starve to death." I took a lick of my ice cream, casually mentioning, "Doesn't your house have central air conditioning? The main switch is the 3rd one from the left in the fuse box. Why didn't you say so earlier?" I smirked disdainfully at Lawson, who also forced a sheepish smile. Then I told my mom to turn on the air conditioning immediately. As she stood up, holding her head and swaying slightly, it was clear she was a bit affected by the heat. She staggered to the door and opened the fuse box. "Okay, it's done, son. It'll be cool in a moment." My mom glanced at me, sensing something was amiss. "Vera, I've been to your in-laws' place, and this room doesn't look like their house. Why are you still using lights in broad daylight?" I can't be bothered with you right now. Our food is all gone. You better come back and bring us some." Lawson also urged. "Yeah, sis, you're my real sister. You can't just ignore me. Take a taxi, keep the air conditioning on. It's just an hour's ride." I switched the camera to show a corner of the storage area, piled with snacks, instant food, fresh vegetables, and fruits. For heads immediately crowded around the camera, their eyes glowing a faint green like starved wild beasts. I shrugged helplessly and said, "I've got so much food here I can't even finish it all, and I'd love to share it with you. But I can't make it back. Don't you know all? Transport has been shut down. Just hang in there a bit longer. Who knows, the weather might clear up in a couple of days." Finally losing his patience, my dad slammed a small electric fan on the ground. "You wretched girl, are you trying to rile us up? I'm telling you, you have to crawl back here today with food, or else you're no daughter of mine." It seemed the temperature in the room was gradually cooling down, however. My electricity account only had a few dozen yuan left, barely enough for 2 days, I took a satisfying gulp of ice-cold Coke. Dad, instead of threatening me, why don't you and your beloved son take advantage of the remaining supplies in the community and go get some vegetables? Before my dad could scold me again, I hung up the phone, extinguishing the fire with the surveillance video on my phone. 11. Frustrated, my dad turned his anger towards my mom. Can't you see the storm coming? Why didn't you stock up more food? How could you be so useless? Go out and buy some. More now, Mom. You too, knowing that supplies are short. Why don't you plan ahead? You finished all the rice and flour in a few days. My mom, who was blamed by the two who ate the most and complained the loudest, had tears welling up in her eyes. It's 60 degrees outside. Do you want me to die? At just 60 degrees she complained about dying, yet when it hit 70 degrees, she still forced me to go out for food. Seeing that we now had air conditioning at home, my sister-in-law generously offered her son umbrella. Mom, just use the umbrella. It won't feel so hot, and bring back some snacks for me. Your beloved grandson loves them. Lawson also urged. Mom, please go. Look at me. I'm getting thin from hunger. Cherishing her son and grandson, my mom gritted her teeth and went out with the umbrella. Incredibly, she actually found food. A whole half box of instant noodles. None of the three at home cared about my mom. They snatched the noodles from her hands, which were blistered from the sun, tore the packages open violently, and started shoveling them into their mouths. My dad and Lawson, cooled by tap water, devoured 4 packs each. My sister-in-law too, watching them eat ravenously was truly nauseating. After my mom forcefully drank a large cup of water to catch her breath, only 6 packs of noodles were left. Her face pale, she reached for a pack, but my dad slapped her hand away. Her wrist drooped as if broken, and she winced in pain. My dad tossed her 2 flavoring sachets from the noodle packs. Just mix them with some water and drink that. My mom wiped her tears in the kitchen while sipping the flavored water. 12. Another day passed, and Lawson called me while I was eating a tomahawk steak. They huddled together, holding onto the fan, and couldn't help licking their lips, their faces swollen from the heat, eyes red with blood vessels. They panted heavily. Sis, where exactly are you? Please, send us some food. I'm starving, sis. How could they not be hungry? 6 packs of noodles, cooking 2 a day, with my dad and Lawson eating most of it, my sister-in-law managing to grab a few noodles, and my mom left with just the soup. After today's meal, they would only have 2 packs left. I briefly replied, is there anything else? If not, don't interrupt my meal. That's when Lawson remembered the pressing matter and hurriedly said, Sis, what's going on? The AC stopped working. Oh, we must have run out of electricity credit. Then you should recharge it quickly. Holding the steak, I looked at him seriously. Aren't you overheating your brain? Haven't I told you I have no money? My dad couldn't stand it anymore and started yelling again. Damn girl, who do you think you're fooling? You have money to buy all that food and drink but no money to pay the electricity bill. I think you just don't want to spend money on your parents and brother. Don't forget, you are my child. And what's yours is our family's. You ungrateful daughter, go pay the bill now. Believe it or not, I'm not the one suffering from the heat. Besides, the electricity rates have been skyrocketing recently. You better deposit more at once. We don't know how long this hot weather will last. They stayed silent. If there's nothing else, I'm going to hang up. Finally, my sister-in-law showed some sense. Sister, wait, we'll pay. Just tell us the account to pay into. Oh, that's no use to you. I need facial recognition to make payments from here. She's just a scammer, trying to con me out of my money, my dad exclaimed. I'm telling you, you little mongrel, you won't scam a penny from me. Fine, now even if I wanted to pay, I won't. Let the heat kill you, old man. I decisively hung up the phone, curious to see how long they could keep up their stubbornness. Before I even finished my steak, my mom called again, the same old tactic. If being tough doesn't work, try a softer approach. My mom was crying, her sunburnt skin cracking. Vera, your father has a weak heart. Don't make him angry. I'm sending you money now. Please pay the electricity bill. No, didn't you just say I was scamming? Vera, I'm begging you. I burped. If you're asking for a favor, show some sincerity. I might reluctantly help you, but you must agree to one condition. My mom, relieved, smiled. Okay, tell me, what's the condition? I put down the steak and stared straight into the camera, enunciating every word. Kneel down and slap yourselves in the face. Each of you 21 times, just like you did to my husband back then. It has to be harsh. They finally realized I was seeking revenge. In my parents' eyes, my useless brother was everything. When my husband and I were dating, not only did my parents take over my salary, but they also shamelessly asked him for money under various pretexts. Lawson, lazy and inept, would take the money from my parents and immediately squander it. Growing up, I always tipped the blame and beatings for him. Did his laundry, cooked, and cleaned. As an adult, I became his ATM. I thought getting Married would free me from this family. When we were planning the wedding, they did everything to obstruct it. They wanted my husband to come up with $1 million in dowry to buy a house for Lawson to get married. My husband was in the liquor business, which was just taking off. He needed money for stock, social obligations, and networking. He didn't have that much. My mom had a terrible idea for us to transfer the mortgage on our apartment to Lawson. The apartment was worth $3 million, and naturally, my husband refused. My parents then hid the family register to prevent us from registering our marriage. Desperate, my husband scraped together $300,000 and presented it to my parents. They didn't want to lose the $300,000, nor did they want to miss out on the additional $700,000. In a fit of anger and to humiliate my husband, my dad brutally slapped him 7 times. These 7 slaps are to remind you that you still owe our family $700,000. My father struck, and so did my mother, giving my husband 7 slaps, followed by Lawson. At that moment, my heart broke, and I cried and begged my parents to stop, saying I wouldn't go through with the marriage. My husband held me against his chest, silencing me. When my husband led me out of that dilapidated tile house, he laughed loudly. "Wife, I've finally pulled you out of this hellhole." We got married, and I completely cut off contact with my family, but the good times didn't last. A year ago, my husband unfortunately passed away due to illness. On the 7th day after my husband's death, they somehow got my address, came over, and demanded that I transfer the house to Lawson, because I still owed them $700,000. My parents' exact words were, "I always knew James wouldn't live long, and now your brother is your only hope. If you run into trouble in the future, you'll still need him. Be smart and quickly transfer the house to your brother." Spending money to avert disaster. If he had been willing to pay $1 million, then maybe he wouldn't have died so soon. Serves him right. He occupied my son's house for so many years for nothing. Good riddance. I tolerated their favoritism and abuse for many years, but they should not have insulted and slandered my husband like that. I was so angry it hurt my chest. I was going crazy. I shouted at them to shut up, and rushed into the kitchen. Before I could reach for the kitchen knife, my mother-in-law, her eyes red, grabbed the knife before me and chased my parents out of my house. After that, I sold the house and moved, but I stayed in the same neighborhood, just in a different building. I couldn't leave because my husband left behind a wine cellar here for me and my daughter to survive on. 21 slaps, not one less. I'll give you 1 minute to decide who goes first. I knew they were furious, wishing they could kill me right then. Ironically, their fate was now in my hands, under the dual assault of extreme heat and hunger. My mother was the first to bend her knee. She slapped herself repeatedly, uttering words of repentance for my husband. My in-laws stood by, wiping away tears. Then it was Lawson's turn. Even now he tried to cheat and skimp. Lightly tapping his face, I casually tore open a bag of individually wrapped braised chicken legs, took a bite. Not good enough. Do it again. Until he bled from the corner of his mouth. I nodded in satisfaction. My father hesitated to start, and my mother pleaded, "Vera, your father has a bad heart. Maybe let it go." "A bad heart? Huh, don't pretend. His heart is harder than anyone's. He must slap harder than you all." My father had never been so humiliated, especially by me, whom he never valued. The hatred in his eyes looked like it could tear a person apart, but watching, I felt a twisted pleasure. "Don't glare at me like that. Start now. And don't make me wait too long, or I still won't pay," and Mom and Lawson's efforts would be in vain. Eventually, my father gave in and slapped himself loudly and quickly. I laughed loudly, applauding him. My mother hurriedly hung up the phone and transferred 5,000 yuan to me. The electricity bill was settled, but their bigger crisis was food. They didn't call me again. I monitored their every move through surveillance. It became our daily entertainment. On the 10th day, the outdoor temperature had already soared to 70 degrees C. They had been out of food for 2 days, and Lawson, unable to bear the hunger, asked my mother to go out and find food again. This time, my mother absolutely refused to go out. My father scolded her harshly and, together with Lawson, forcefully pushed her out of the house. "If you can't find food, don't bother coming back. Just die outside." In my previous life, my daughter and I died tragically on this very day. Just thinking about that scene makes me shiver uncontrollably. By the next day, my mother had not returned. She really did die out there, driven mad by hunger. My father showed no remorse for my mother's death. He swallowed his saliva, a hint of regret momentarily crossing his face. 2 days later, my father found a small shoebox in the shoe cabinet that was used to pack shoes for Ming Ming. He tore off a large piece with his mouth and chewed it vigorously. As he chewed, something suddenly occurred to him, his eyes brightening frighteningly as he rushed towards the master bedroom. Upon opening the door, he saw Lawson and my younger sister secretly sharing a packet of instant noodles in bed. It was something my sister-in-law had hidden while they were frantically eating noodles. Angry and hungry, my father lost his sanity and began beating my sister-in-law mercilessly. Lawson, holding onto his waist, cried out, "Dad, stop, she'll die if you keep hitting her." My father blurted out, "Better if she dies. We'll have meat to eat then. An unborn fetus is highly nourishing." My sister-in-law clutched her belly, Crying and begging piteously, Lawson froze, his expression complex, as if making a significant decision. In just a few moments, he gradually let go of his hold. I hurriedly turned off my phone, unable to utter a word as I faced my in-laws. After that incident, I never dared to open the surveillance on my phone again. The extreme hot weather did not last half a year as the experts had predicted. When winter officially arrived, the temperature began to rise. By the end of October, the climate had returned to normal. The government organized teams to search and rescue survivors house by house. We had no plans to go out yet. As the saying goes, after a major disaster comes a great epidemic. Although technology has advanced and epidemics are not rampant, we still need to be cautious with our old and young family members. On the third day, I received a call from the police to verify the situation. They only mentioned that they had found a body and various human remains in my house. He didn't go into too much detail, probably to avoid frightening me, but I understood. Even the last complete body had decomposed over time. I had no interest in knowing who had survived. In the end, they all paid the price for their misdeeds. Following the advice of relevant authorities, I authorized their collective cremation and burial, not to burden the nation unnecessarily. When spring comes next year, I will walk in the sunshine with my in-laws and daughter. Our family of 4 will live together happily. For the rest of our lives, all will be bright and smooth.